primary education capitations is returned by the Ministry of Education, outlining the 4 items it is retained against and the percentage of the retained funds meant for the purchase and delivery of textbooks and other learning materials to schools. 2. Explain the final point of delivery of centrally procured textbooks and other tuition materials by the Ministry of Education, stating whose responsibility it is to deliver the same materials to the school premises as per the agreement between the Ministry and the publishers and vendors. And 3. Outline any plans by the Ministry to ensure the centrally procured materials are delivered to schools and not at the sub-county education offices as in currently the case. Senator Alexander Munyi Mondigi, Embu County. Happy Jamhuri Day, happy Christmas, happy New Year. I love you all.
Now, pursuant to Standing Order 53.3, I will allow limited comments on all these statements, starting with Senator Olekina.
Mr. Speaker, briefly, I'd just like to support the statement by Senator Eddie Gishero on the importance of having an official diplomatic mission in the Republic, on the Kingdom of Morocco. Mr. Speaker, having an official embassy is very, very important. I know we have challenges, given that there was some confusion on our diplomatic ties with the country of Sorai, which is neighboring Morocco. But I think it is important, as a country, having a physical diplomatic mission assist the Foreign Department to be able to gather intelligence about the economy of that country, to be able to understand the position of that country. It also enhances trade between those two nations. So I think it's about time. And when we think of ourselves as an African continent, it is about time that we try to embrace each other and understand one another. The current occupier of the house in the Hill has been advocating the need to open Kenya for all Africans. So the best way to be able to open Kenya for all Africans is to be able to ensure that we have representation, you know, in each and every country. So I think the issue of Morocco has really supported this country a lot. We get a lot of fertilizer from Morocco, from the Kingdom of Morocco. So I think it is imperative that we bring our brothers closer so that we know how we can be able to deal with it. While at that, Mr. Speaker, I think also we have to play a critical role in educating some of those characters who represent us in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, I was shocked. I was literally shocked when I saw the PS, Mr. Abraham Singwae Korir, really attacking the Speaker of this House and saying that the Speaker of this House cannot be able to meet and discuss issues to do with diplomacy. Mr. Speaker, you know, people have selective amnesia. If you look at the previous administrations, and these offices that we hold are not offices that belong to an individual. These are offices which transcend individuals. In the last dispensation of the Jubilee administration, the former president of this country, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, extended an invitation to the Republic of Somaliland, and they were building diplomatic ties. I think it is imperative, Mr. Speaker, that this House, and particularly the Committee on Foreign Affairs, to summon the current PS of Foreign Affairs, my friend Abraham Singwae Korir, to come here and explain, because it is ridiculous. You know, sometimes we make certain comments which we don't understand their unintended consequences. It is hypocritical for someone who has served as an advisor to the government to be able to go and make statements to attack a very powerful, institution. The Senate is very powerful. The Speaker of the Senate is almost number 4 in leadership in this country. So really, how can a PS who is approved by this House go in and castigate a Speaker? So, Mr. Speaker, we're not talking about this issue of diplomacy, issues of opening embassies abroad, issues of bringing these countries all together. Recently, we admitted Somali into the East African community. Why is it wrong if people are able to recognize Somaliland as a nation within a nation? Why is it wrong for the Speaker of this House to be able to meet with dignitaries from that country? So, Mr. Speaker, I think it's about time that we stand firm, defend this House, defend the leadership of this House, and ensure that we can be able to go together as a nation. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, we were arguing here about the welfare of our citizens, of our staff. There are things that do not require politics, Mr. Speaker. There are things which are important. Today, I get a phone call from one of our suppliers who assists our constituencies' offices, that he could not be able to take his child to the hospital because my office has not paid for things that they supplied for the operations of our county offices. So if we cannot sit here and talk, anytime we raise issues, it's a problem. You hear someone in the executive coming here and castigating this House. I think it's about time that we make a firm determination, and this statement by the distinguished senator from Migori should be one that can be able to canvass all these issues. Not only the issue of Morocco, but also the issue of Somaliland, so that we can put everything to rest. And finally, as I sit, Mr. Speaker, I really would like to request the same Committee on Foreign Relations to summon Abraham Korir Singwae to come and explain why he took to social media to castigate the Speaker of this House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Essie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to support the statement by the Kiambu Senator Karungo on the mauling of the lady who was actually eaten by a hyena in Juja. Mr. Speaker, we've had these cases, and I actually thought the cases are happening in counties that are next to wildlife parks. Unfortunately, this time it's happening in a very active industrial town. Mr. Speaker, we can't be losing our people to disease, floods, hunger, then lose lives to people being eaten by wildlife. It's really sad, Mr. Speaker, and I want to say that swift action should be taken to ensure that these animals are located and taken back to where they belong. I understand very well that could be also happening because of the current pressure we are encountering of, you know, the human beings are growing in numbers, and especially in towns, and encroachment is happening to areas where wildlife would have otherwise been. But you see, the result is very sad, Mr. Speaker. And this is not for the first time. The other time we saw a lion that was actually loitering around areas within town. Mr. Speaker, if we cannot protect ordinary people, then, Mr. Speaker, even yesterday's standoff, I don't see how it makes sense. It's actually an opportunity for we as leaders to also experience what the ordinary people undergo each and every day, Mr. Speaker. So I want to support, and I hope the ministry responsible will be answerable to what Senator Thangwai has actually raised, not just in Juja. We have these incidences in areas like Athi River, that's Kajiado, and very many others. We must sort out the issue of human-wildlife conflict. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mazayo.
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, ambayo imeletwa na Senator Eddie Okech kuhusiana na uhusiano katika ubalozi wa nchi ya Morocco ama utawala ule wa Morocco, ufalme wa Morocco na Kenya. Bwana Spika, ni jambo la muhimu sana kuona kwamba Kenya itakuwa na uhusiano mwema na mataifa mengine, na kulingana na uhusiano huo kawaida huwa kunakuwa na mazao mengi, kunakuwa na watu kuweza kufungua njia za watu wetu kupata kazi, kunakuwa na njia zile ambazo pia vile vile watu wetu wanaweza kupata biashara, na uhusiano mwema huo unaleta mambo ya biashara kuendelea katika nchi zetu hizi za Afrika, hususan jambo hili la uhusiano baina ya Kenya na usultan wa Morocco. Bwana Spika, tumeona kwamba mimi nilikuwa katika lile bunge la Pan African Parliament, na katika Pan African Parliament, Bwana Spika, nchi ambayo imetambuliwa na Pan African Parliament ni nchi ile ya inaitwa Western Sahara. Inaitwa Western Sahara. Ile nchi ya Morocco bado haijakuwa na ubalozi ndani ya Kenya, na hivi sasa kuna msikizo fulani ambao unaendelea kwamba kunao nia ya kuweza kuwa na uhusiano mwema na serikali ile ya Morocco pia. Hilo ni jambo zuri ambalo tunaliweza kuliunga mkono. Lakini Bwana Spika, ikiwa kutakuwa na uhusiano kama huo, ni lazima iwe baina, ifanywe wazi kabisa, ili kila mtu aweze kujua kunaendelea nini baina ya majadiliano yanayoendelea katika Kenya na yanayoendelea katika serikali ya Morocco. Lakini hivi juzi tunaona kwamba kumekuwa na majibishiano ambayo yamekuwa hayafai. Hili bunge la Senate liko na uwezo wa kujadiliana jambo lolote ambalo linaendelea ndani ya Kenya, na hili bunge la Senate likiwa linaongozwa na Speaker. Bwana Speaker, mimi nataka kusema ya kwamba uwezo huo unaweza kuengage ama unaweza kujadiliana. Katika kujadiliana huku unaweza kwenda katika nyanja zozote za biashara, za kazi, za matumizi, za madaktari, za kila kitu, ili kuweza kusaidia nchi hii. Hilo ndio jukumu lako kubwa ambalo liko hapa. Tukiangalia katika katiba pia tunaona ya kwamba hili bunge hauwezi kulishusha hadhi yake. Lakini juzi tumepata afisa mmoja anafanya kazi katika wizara hii ya mambo ya nje. Huyu anaitwa katibu wa kudumu ambaye ni Singoe. Ni jambo la aibu kuona ya kwamba ofisa sasa wa serikali anaweza kuingilia jambo ambalo linajadiliwa ndani ya bunge, ama anaweza kuingilia speaker ambaye ndio kilele, yeye ndio mkubwa ndani ya bunge la Senate. Na tunaona ni madharau, tunaona hii ni heshima ambayo anajaribu kushukisha heshima ya bunge la Senate chini, ambayo sio kawaida. Wewe ukiwa unafanya kazi ndani ya serikali hauwezi ukaingilia chochote ndani ya bunge la Senate. Kwa hiyo Bwana Speaker, tunaona haya ni matusi na ni madharau. Haswa kwa mimi Bwana Speaker, itakuwa jambo la kusikitisha sana kuona kama kutakuwa na madharau kama haya. Sisi kama watu wa Pwani hatutakubali hata kidogo kuona ya kwamba sio kwamba wewe uko pale peke yake, lakini mtu yote ambaye anaketi katika kiti cha uspika wa Senate ni lazima aheshimiwe. Hivi sasa ikiwa jambo kama hilo limetendeka, ni muhimu ile kamati husika katika Senate kuweza kumuita huyo ofisa aje ndani ya hili bunge la Senate na aweze kutueleza ni kwa sababu gani alikuwa anajibishiana na spika. Tena unaenda kwa Twitter. Hiyo ni madharau ya namna gani? Kwa hiyo hii hata anakubaliana na vile ndugu yangu Aaron Cheruiyot anasema Cheptum chairman wangu hajalala. Ni Cheptum ni mtu yuko sawa sawa kabisa na ni wakili mkubwa. Yeye hajasinzia, yuko sawa sawa kabisa, lakini vile tu kwamba hajaongea ya kwamba kama Singoya alifanya makosa sana.
Order, Senator Cheptum. What is the point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I am keenly listening to the Senator of Kilifi. Is it in order for the majority leader to claim?
The majority leader is not on record.
The majority leader claiming that I'm not listening. Mr. Speaker, you heard him saying so.
Senator Cheptumo.
Mr. Speaker, I want to assure the House that I'm keenly following the proceedings of the House, and my committee, Mr. Speaker, is fully aware of what the PS was trying to demean this House. And Mr. Speaker, I will also speak at my right time on that particular issue. So majority leader, it's unfair and procedural for you to say that. Mr.
Thank
Speaker,
you, Senator Cheptumo. Senator Mazayo, conclude please, so that we close this.
Asante Bwana Speaker. Kama ndugu yangu Cheptumo anatuhakikishia yeye hayuko usingizini, kama anavyosema Aaron Cheruiyot, kiongozi walio wengi, sisi nataka tuchukue hiyo hatua ya kwamba huyu ofisa ambaye ni ofisa wa chini sana katika hii wizara ya mambo ya nje aitwe hapa ili tuweze kumhoji, na sisi kama watu wa Pwani hatutakubali hata kidogo. Hatutakubali hata kidogo hadhi ya hii Senate iregeshwe chini. Asante Bwana Speaker.
Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the issue raised by the Senator of Migori is very important. Mr. Speaker, it must occur to us that Morocco, a country in Africa, is the 5th largest economy in Africa. And Kenya and Ethiopia were in position 6. To sit and refuse to have and fail to have formal relationship with Africa's 5th biggest economy is to lose the obvious, Mr. Speaker. I therefore would like to urge the respective committee, would like to urge the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, remembering that my good friend, Dr. Sing'ong'ei, who people are not very happy, who senators are not very happy with this morning, to be up to the task so that we move towards formalizing this relationship. The second point, Mr. Speaker, I would like to make is that the East African community has now expanded and invited Somalia into the community. Having done so, it means that some of the good things of Somalia are now on board, but also the headaches that Somalia has. Somaliland, dear colleagues, senators, Somaliland is a headache to the Republic of Somalia. So what, to my understanding, prompted the PS to respond in the manner he did, Mr. Speaker, to my understanding, is the possibility, because we have not talked to him, that Somalia might have raised a formal complaint about the engagement that we were perceived to have made with Somaliland, which is a problem to the country. Mr. Speaker, as I say this, don't let it be lost to this House that even Morocco has a similar challenge in the name of Western Sahara. The moment we shall engage with Morocco, we will have to devise means on how we can deal with the headache of Western Sahara. Mr. Speaker, you and I have the unique opportunity, which we had, that we served in the Ministry of East African Community. And Mr. Speaker, let's not personalize this. After you pulled down your tweet, and after Sing'ong'ei had made the comments he made, I have taken time to listen to what Sing'ong'ei was saying. Sing'oei did not attack the Senate. Sing'oei did not attack the Speaker. Sing'oei spoke to the mandate of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Sing'oei emphasized the oversight role of Parliament on matters of international relationship. So why a leader, in fact a house of sober leaders like this one, would want to belabor and blow that clarification from Sing'oei out of proportion, it beats my logic. What are we fighting Sing'oei for? Mr. Speaker, with your permission. What are we fighting Sing'oei for? I'm referring. What are we fighting him for? Let's call a spade a spade. Mr. Speaker, Sing'oei said the following things. He says, foreign policy of the Republic is the function of the national government. That is a fact. He said, Parliament's role in foreign policy is oversight on exercise of foreign relationship by national government. That is a fact. He said, it is Kenya's established and unchanging policy to remain consistent with the African Union on the matter of the Federation of the Republic of Somalia. What's wrong with that? Mr. Speaker, are we saying this Parliament want to push an agenda that is contrary to the position of the African Union on Somalia? We would be missing it. And finally, Mr. Speaker, Sing'oei said Somaliland, a region within the Federal Republic of Somalia, has a liaison office for commercial purposes in Nairobi. That means he was acknowledging that Somaliland is not a pariah. It already has been given an opportunity to deal with Kenya. I appeal to colleagues that we don't try to kill a fly with a sledgehammer. This is a non-issue. Let the PS of Foreign Affairs enjoy his freedom of thought, freedom of expression. Some of us have had to pay high prices for freedom of expression. Let us not use Parliament to intimidate civil servants. If we want to deal with foreign affairs, there is a substantive minister who we can call here instead of focusing on his civil servant who he can manage himself. Mr. Speaker, sir, Morocco, which is the issue that the member from Migori has raised here, is so important that they are also the giants of soccer in Africa. They have also produced some of the top athletes in this country. Those of us who have had an opportunity to go to Morocco, we know that there's so much we can learn, so much we can partner, so much we can benefit from by relating to Morocco formally. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I congratulate the Senator of Migori.
Senator Osotsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. We wish to comment on the two statements. One statement by Senator Eddy and a statement by Senator Mudigi. Let me start with the statement by Senator Mudigi on centralized procurement of school learning material. Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very crucial statement because there are challenges right now, Mr. Speaker, in terms of the change of policy to centrally procure learning material, particularly books, to schools. I have received complaints from head teachers in my county that some schools have had to receive books which they don't really need. A school is not doing Islamic studies and is being given books on Islamic studies, really. That's a waste. So, Mr. Speaker, the idea to change the policy to centralized procurement may have been inspired by the need to have a centralized accountability on the procurement process. But that, in a way, it's going to create more problems than the system that was there before. So I think the Committee on Education needs to really reflect on this matter, look at all the possibilities, look at all the loopholes, and report to this House, so that, if possible, we should actually revert to the system that was there before, which was that every school could handle procurement of its learning material. Mr. Speaker, let me also comment on the issue of establishment of an embassy in Morocco. Mr. Speaker, this issue of having an embassy in Morocco is long overdue. And there is no justification at all for Kenya government not to have an embassy in Morocco. Because all the leading economies in Africa, they all have embassies in Morocco. Start with Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, Algeria. They all have embassies in Morocco because Morocco is a big economy and Morocco is a flourishing economy, which this country really needs to benefit from having a diplomatic engagement with Morocco. So there is no justification not to have. But I'm aware, Mr. Speaker, the government is trying to quietly establish an office in Morocco. But Mr. Speaker, as a standard, I think it's important for that process to be processed through Parliament, so that Parliament gives an approval for the establishment of embassies in such strategic countries. Mr. Speaker, coming to the issue of the PS for Foreign Affairs, I have heard Senator Galwale trying to defend the PS. I think there is no justification in what he did. When we have high-ranking government officials resorting to exchanging on social media, then there is a problem. And Mr. Speaker, the PS would easily have taken his phone and called you. Instead of now going to respond to you on social media. That is unacceptable, and we are seeing this trend emerge in this current government. We have seen the behavior of the CS Moses Kuria on social media and others. I mean, there should be a better way of communicating within government. So there is no justification in what the PS did. And Mr. Speaker, Parliament plays a big role in foreign policy implementation. After all the treaties that we engage in as a country are ratified by this House. So when the PS gives an impression that the Parliament and Senate has no role in engaging on diplomatic mission, Mr. Speaker, that is misconduct. And if it was another country, that PS would be at home by now, Mr. Speaker. He will be at home, I'm telling you. If this thing happened during President Moi's time, by 1 o'clock news, we would hear that the PS has been sacked. So this crippling indiscipline in government, Mr. Speaker, I think is something that we need to deal with as a House, and there is no justification in what the PS did. But Mr. Speaker, this is a problem of giving responsibility to people who have no civil service experience. They will always do things in this manner. Serious ministries like Foreign Affairs require serious, experienced civil servants who are also diplomats, Mr. Speaker. So Mr. Speaker, I want to
What is the point of order, Senator Boni?
Mr. Speaker, is it in order, rising on standing order number 105, for the member to impute improper motives on our civil servants when he knows that Abraham Singoe, doctor, was not only vetted for by the National Assembly, but that this is a distinguished lawyer with a doctorate in law. And Mr. Speaker,
Senator Boni, what is the point of order?
The point of order is
information. Very good information you're giving. It's not a point of order. So choose. Are you on a point of information or a point of order?
Yes,
Are you informing Senator Osotsi of the resume of the PS, or are you calling to order the honorable senator who was speaking?
It's a thin line, Mr.
You can't
Speaker.
do both.
Mr. Speaker, it's a thin line. Under 105...
The line can never be thin, Senator.
Under our standing orders, Mr. Speaker, with due respect, 105 expects that members should be guided by the factuality of what they are speaking to.
Senator Boni, that's why I'm asking you.
Yes.
Are you on a point of order or you are on a point of information? Just pick one and proceed.
A point of order.
Okay, what is this that is out of order?
He's misleading the House that Dr. Abraham Singoe is not competent enough to be our principal secretary, when in fact the education Abraham has, the district senator from Iga can only dream about it. He doesn't even have even 20% of that. We need to appreciate the quality of professionalism in our government of Kenya Kwanza, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Osotsi,
Mr. Speaker, Boni Khalwale is just wasting my time. And I want to tell Boni Khalwale that I am also learned. I have a degree in computer science. I have a master's degree in computer science. I have an MBA. I have more degrees than Boni Khalwale. So don't say that I can only dream of...
Honorable senators. Honorable senators, at this rate I may require every one of you. Order, Senator Boni. Kindly, Senator Osotsi, abandon that line of argument and proceed to prosecute your contribution and conclude, please. Senator Boni, we are veering off the subject matter. Kindly proceed to...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I think the PS for Foreign Affairs deserves to apologize to you as a Speaker of this House and to this House. Because in the ranking order, Mr. Speaker, you are too senior. In fact, I would have forgiven the Ministry of Foreign Affairs if maybe that statement was written by Prime Cabinet Secretary and the CS for Foreign Affairs. That is your level, Mr. Speaker, but not a junior officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We deserve an apology. You deserve an apology. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Majority Leader Cheriot.
Mr. Speaker, this is a very interesting morning. But first, the statement by Senator Mundigi deserves our attention. And it deserves the attention of the Education Committee because this is a policy position that government has played ping pong quite a number of occasions on. You remember, Mr. Speaker, that previously, I think around 2015, there was a directive that in the interest of saving taxpayers' money and that school teachers were actually buying school books at exaggerated amounts, therefore the policy shifted to centralized procurement system where they procure here at the national government and send them to the various schools. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, that policy appeared to be working initially. But a few years down the line, Kenya being what it is, and you know that we are a strange people with peculiar habits, very soon you found that schools, even without classrooms, Mr. Speaker, were being loaded with truckloads of books that they did not have, first of all, where to store, and even the teachers to teach some of the subjects, Mr. Speaker. But because it made a lot of sense, and you know Kenyans are never short of lofty words when they want to engineer a procurement project intended just for the sole intention of fleecing taxpayers' money. And therefore that policy shifted back, I think about 2018 or 2019, Mr. Speaker, and we saw again a decentralization. And teachers were allowed to buy and do this and the other. But after that, again, Mr. Speaker, we were presented with a report. And I remember I was in this house, Mr. Speaker, because this question is not the first time this has been asked. And we were told as a house that the reason why
there was need to revert back to the old order, is that you'd find that for the same textbook, one school in Kakamega buys for 500 Kenya shillings. The other school in Vihiga just next door buys it for 750 Kenya shillings. And therefore, a somewhat logical argument was presented and was said, then why not centralize? So, Mr. Speaker, the question should be, what have we learned from this attempted policy of centralizing and decentralizing the purchase of school books and materials, Mr. Speaker? And what measures have we put in place? In fact, and I hope, I think he has since left, I had seen the Senator for Muranga, who's our chairperson for education, but nonetheless, I know there are members of that committee who are in the House as we speak, and as members share their comments on this particular question, is that the question they need to ask the ministry when they eventually appear before the House to respond to this question is, what safety nets have they put in place out of the experience that they have learned? Because it is an incontrovertible fact, Mr. Speaker, that there are pros and cons to both centralizing and decentralizing. The only thing that we need to do, Mr. Speaker, if we are a country that learns and makes better decisions out of the experiences we've had, is to ensure that we have put the safety nets to ensure that whatever policy position we take on these items, be it to centralize or to decentralize, is to put in place the mitigation measures to ensure that taxpayers' money is protected. If you put it all procurement to be a Jogo House, then let the schools request, so that you just don't dump them with books that they have not even asked for. There could be alumni that have donated, like I know for a fact in my county, Mr. Speaker, I organize a county-wide alumni day, and one of the things alumni always do is that they donate books in huge numbers to the schools that they went to. So you find that in some of these schools, they may not be needing the books that the national government is sending them to. That's why it will be important to put as one of the safety measures to ensure that the school must first request for those particular books, Mr. Speaker. Second and most important is that if you choose to go the other way, should the ministry choose to let it be handled at the school level, Mr. Speaker, then at least provide a pricing list so that the schools are properly guided and know that there is no institution that is allowed to purchase Kiswahili Mufti. If that book still exists, at least that's the best that I can remember, Mr. Speaker. And no school is allowed to buy that book at above 450 Kenya shillings, Mr. Speaker. That way we will safeguard taxpayers' money. Otherwise, if we have just an argument, Mr. Speaker, whether to centralize or decentralize, then it means we have learned nothing as a people. And I don't think that is what Kenyans expect us as a house that does oversight. So work unto you, members of Education Committee, when Ministry of Education appears, and please pass those regulations here, so that by the time this policy position is taken, we are well guided and hold the ministers to account. Then lastly, Mr. Speaker, is on these diplomatic relations between Kenya and the Kingdom of Morocco. Mr. Speaker, I will not get involved in the debate about what are the relations between Kenya and Morocco and what needs to be improved, what doesn't need to be improved. I know for a fact, Mr. Speaker, that we have enjoyed good diplomatic relations with this country. It is only up until, I think, during the presidential inauguration that Sahrawi Republic, which is a breakaway from the Kingdom of Morocco, appeared and were formally recognized as part of the delegations that caused a tiff between us and them. That matter has since, to the best of my knowledge, been sufficiently addressed, because it's not Kenya alone that finds itself in this challenge between Morocco and Sahrawi. The rest of all countries of the world, because these people, each time when countries break away from the other, they provide a diplomatic challenge to established nations. Because on many accounts, when you want to disassociate, there are challenges with it. When you want to associate with them, therefore, Mr. Speaker, I'll leave it to the experts of foreign affairs to come and respond to the question by my friend Senator Eddie Okech. But I hold a different view from colleagues who are trying to demean the work of Dr. Sing'oei. While I may not agree with him entirely in the process with which he used to make a correction to a tweet that emanated from your office, Mr. Speaker. If I were in Dr. Sing'oei's position, the prudent thing to do, Mr. Speaker, would have been to reach out to your office and let you actually make the correction, because I know what he was trying to do is to give, of course, a formal complaint or informal may have reached him and said, is this the actual position of the government of Kenya? Because let's face it, Mr. Speaker, the same way people are saying your office is high ranking in this republic, that's true. That's why when you send out a tweet, other countries are bound to question and say, is this the official government position of Kenya? Therefore, it was within his place to try and put the proper position, Mr. Speaker, on this particular issue. The mode which he may have chosen to execute it is what we can debate here. But I can tell you, Senator Godfrey Osotsi, my good friend, you cannot hold a candle to to the PS Abraham Singoe on matters foreign relation. That gentleman has earned his space. Many of our colleagues, including some that have served in this house with him, actually came up from his work from both foreign affairs and human rights, especially on marginalized communities. Celebrated, published, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, let us desist from this habit of being too critical of people. Surely, of all the work that Abraham Singoe has done, trying to restore Kenya's foreign relations that were dwindling at the time of the exit of the past regime, Mr. Speaker, to a point where now we are respected. People want to know Kenya's position on every matter. If we didn't matter as a country, then Somaliland will never have bothered to know or to confirm what is our actual position on this particular issue. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I hold the view that even as we hold to account the executive, let us do it with dignity. Let us do it with decorum. You know, a trend is being set in this house, Mr. Speaker, where sometimes because we have a premium platform, many of us tend to speak on issues without necessarily sometimes doing due diligence on a particular item. I saw, Mr. Speaker, for example, early this week, members speak on the issue of privatization and say, oh, I'm opposed to this or the other. I hold the view, Mr. Speaker, that particular notice is a notice of public participation. You're being invited to give your views on policy position that the government wants to take. We are here as a house debating and saying we cannot even pay salaries to our staff because we are in a difficult financial position. When the government tries to come up with policies that will free up the fiscal space, we are again the first ones to oppose and say, no, that one is not possible. This one cannot be done. I think you cannot eat your cake and have it. We've got to be sincere and appreciate that as a country, we have found ourselves in a very unique situation in terms of our fiscal space. We can hold debate this way or the other and say, in fact, Mr. Speaker, I would be more encouraged if as colleagues senators, we will take a lead role, for example, in this conversation on privatization. Senator Boni Halwale and, for example, those that come from the sugar growing areas, we want to hear your views on this particular matter because it is not sustainable, for example, for government, Mr. Speaker, to each year be pumping 500 million Kenya shillings to sugar mills that, first of all, half the year do not function, they don't pay farmers, they consume taxpayers' money. Let us inform this particular debate and say, for example, I'd wish and appreciate and say, if there is a private sugar mill in my factory, I'd wish that concession fee, instead of being paid to the national government because they don't need it, let it be paid to the resident county government. It can be used at least to show up, pay for medical services and whatever functions and funds that people need. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage colleagues that many of the times when we take positions on the floor of this house, let it be better informed than at least the people that we represent. Because people cannot look at you, Senator Sifuna, and say, of all of us here in Nairobi, you are the best representatives in the Senate. Then you come to the House and want to speak also like the average Nairobian who is expecting on you to have better information than them. We have to do better as a people and as a leadership. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I beg to support these particular two statements and hope that our colleagues will get justice for the statements that they have sought and answers that are sufficient for the people that they represent. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Eddie.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I think that there are two statements that have been put across here by esteemed senators that I think that are quite solemn in the sense that they involve harassment and deaths of very important people, women in our society. One of them by Senator Mutinda, who sought to,
get some comment of action from the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs of a lady who was harassed by matatu by matatu operators on Thika Road, Mr. Speaker. These are scenes that we have seen a number of times, and sometimes we take them for granted and almost like a norm, where women are harassed in places, in public places, for different reasons, Mr. Speaker. And I think that is something that as a country we must start, working hard to put it behind our backs, and this is something that is very serious that needs to be dealt with as a country, Mr. Speaker. And in the same manner, the senator for Kiambu talked about the hyena attack, and unfortunately, again, it was attack on a woman. And this is telling us some trend, Mr. Speaker, that it seems like women in their strivings every day to be able to feed families, find themselves in serious troubles. Today in the morning, Mr. Speaker, I just got news from Migori County that women who are affected by the effect of El Nino, who are trying to, get themselves to the other side of Aneko. This is on one of the rivers that floods during such a time, had their boats capsized. And 4 of them died this morning, Mr. Speaker, together with a gentleman who was trying to help them cross with the boat. And these deaths, as I even sent condolences to the lady that Thangwa talked about, and also the women in Migori County, Mr. Speaker, this exposes our nation's, structure on being able to support women and be able to make sure that our women are safe in their modes of striving for economic empowerment and economic activities. Some of our households, in the nature of how we find ourselves as a continent, and mostly in Kenya, you find that our household economics are mostly supported by women, and mostly women come out very strongly to look for ways of striving every day, ways of feeding our families, and it's indeed sad if we cannot be able to secure their lives in whichever form, be it attack from hyenas or be it attack from rogue matatu drivers and rogue matatu operators, or sometimes be it gaps in terms of just having proper infrastructure that can be able to help them be able to do their activities, whether in agriculture or otherwise, in a proper way. And that said, Mr. Speaker, it's the mantra that you do not sometimes quote yourself or talk about your own statement. And my intention is not to talk about my statement on Moroccan embassy, because I think that I will engage with the committee appropriately as required. But I think that is extremely important, Mr. Speaker, that I add my voice on this issue of the PS, Singwei, because, Mr. Speaker, we are losing the script. And the script was very simple. Mr. Speaker, you hosted foreign dignitaries, and you hosted them so after they made it to the country. And I think that the intention of the statement is what is most important, because, and I want to urge majority leaders, together with the majority whip, that character assassination is a serious thing in this country. What you say is not consumed only by you, but is consumed by so many Kenyans. This is a serious government official, that what he says cannot come as a simple statement of fun on a Twitter page. Because what the CS said, in the eyes of the public and in the eyes of many people, intended to demean the Speaker, and actually intended to suggest that the Speaker of the Senate of Kenya was playing a role that is not his, and was therefore taking the duties of the foreign ministry. This is the fact. And I like the fact that the majority leader did read about the tweet as it was phrased. It wasn't phrased as a normal routine tweet of explaining to you my job, this is what I do. It wanted to be able to escape from responsibility of the fact that before those foreigners, foreign diplomats made to our country, there is a sincere responsibility in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to know that they're in the country. If they travel all the way from Somaliland to this place without the ministry knowing, without the ministry actually even being able to have them pay a courtesy call to them, then it means that it indicts the ministry for being extremely porous, which is what my friend Senator Ososi was talking about, the issue of competence. How comes that these foreign diplomats made it to our country and then came to pay a courtesy call to our speaker, and then you want to blame the speaker for hosting them? So, you know, it's extremely wrong, and I think that we should not, you know, again, this can work either way, majority leader. You know, the idea of we should not eat our cake and have it, in the same way, the ministry cannot eat the cake and have it at the same time. I think that the PS sincerely, in good faith, does indeed owe the speaker an apology for actually throwing aspersions that the speaker was trying to take his job. And this apology, perhaps not even to the speaker directly. It should just go back to the same Twitter, because I think that he operates very well on Twitter and engages people on Twitter very well. And just offer apology and clarity that the mistake was done from his side. He wasn't keen on doing his duties. The speaker was doing his duty as should, because we as a house do actually have a role in engaging on foreign resources, diplomatic relations, as are the members of the executive. So it was inappropriate. The message was inappropriate. It meant to demean the speaker. It meant to demean the house, and we must take it as such. And demanding an apology doesn't mean sometimes restrain relationship. It means acknowledging the fact that that kind of aspersion could also affect the effectiveness of our speaker as well as the effectiveness of this house. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I thank you, and I hope that as we go for recess, we will keep on championing for the place of Senate as well as the Parliament at large in this governance that we have in the country. Thank you so much.
Senator Kathuri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, also for giving me this opportunity to make my comment on the statements. Mr. Speaker, I want to touch on the statement on youth and sports, which was presented or led by Senator Nguria. I remember very well that, Mr. Speaker, the government, this Kenya Kwanza government, when the ministry was set up, the CS introduced as a policy that they will support tournaments right from the world level to the national level, so that they can be able to tap the talent from our youth. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm not very sure whether this has started, and this statement is very crucial because it is very, very expensive actually to support tournaments. I saw last weekend the majority leader struggling in Kericho to even to raise funds so that they could support that tournament. So if the government is doing it, then this could be the best thing, because, Mr. Speaker, individually, let me assure you that it is not possible. The member for Nairobi County, Senator Sifuna, you cannot be able to support all the clubs in this town. I think there are more than almost 1,000 teams, football teams. So if the government can come in to support these talent right from the world level to the national level, Mr. Speaker, I'm very sure we can be able to get very far as far as...
do you wish to be informed by Senator?
I'm not sure whether whatever I send needs more information. I just sent it's approximately 1,000 clubs, maybe in this city, Nairobi City County. You have the figures? Okay, inform me the exact figure. But not on any other matter, maybe on that figure only.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know why the Senator for Meru is scared about the information that I'm carrying. Actually, I wanted to agree with him in terms of the burden on sporting associations in the counties. The information I wanted to give him is that I am bringing an amendment to the Sports Act so that we can set aside 1% of the revenues of each county to support registered sports associations in the counties. That's the information I wanted to pass.
That's very crucial. To support you in this floor to raise it to 2%, at least like the way NGCDF does. 2% goes to sports, and then 2% to environment. We might even propose 5% should go to environment so that we can fight climate change in the counties. So Mr. Speaker, the other comment I want to make is about the books. Mr. Speaker, I've been an MP for 2 terms in the constituency, and the teachers, the principals have been complaining about the textbooks. The publishers, because they get contracts for the Ministry of the Education directly, they dump books to those schools even without knowing whether they require them or the need for those books in the school. So, Mr. Speaker, if the statement by Senator Mudigi, it needs a lot of attention, because the schools should just be given capitation so that they can be able to buy what is necessary and what they need at that particular time. Mr. Speaker, the other issue about the Morocco embassy and what happened, because this matter has really been on this floor since yesterday, Mr. Speaker, and your office has been mentioned severally by members in this House. So, Mr. Speaker, with a lot of humility, I will request the committee dealing with this matter to bring a statement or a report, because they can be able to engage the Minister of Foreign Affairs, so that also, Mr. Speaker, we can protect your image as our Speaker. You know, you are the President of the Senate. So you can be able to protect your image, to protect the office that you hold, and also to put the matter straight, so that when you are chairing this session, your name does not appear so much on this floor, Mr. Speaker. So I wish that matter can rest, and the committee concerned to come up with just a small report to put the facts clear. But, Mr. Speaker, maybe communication is what the PS did in a not a good manner. If we was to collect you that this is the position of the government and the AU and the UN, maybe he couldn't have done it formally to you, or to call you, or to visit your office, so that he could clarify the exact position. But responding to you on Twitter was not very, very good, Mr. Speaker. So I really want to thank you also for your magnanimity this morning. You have given us a lot of airtime as we come close to this end of this session, Mr. Speaker. And I hope even when we open next year, you will continue with the same magnanimity. Because when senators speak on the floor is when they communicate to the voters who brought us to this floor, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, and I wish everyone Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Senator Professor Margaret Kamar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I rise, Mr. Speaker, to support the statement by Senator Tapida Mutinda on the assault of a female passenger by a matatu conductor. Mr. Speaker, when you watch the clip that Senator Mutinda has referred to, it is very worrying where our society is going. You are a passenger, you know your destination and you have given your destination. The matatu passes your destination, you ask why you are being passed, you are removed and you are slapped. It makes no sense. It just makes you wonder whether the tout was really in his normal sense, or he was drunk, intoxicated, or what was wrong. Because it tells a lot about the society. Mr. Speaker, as the committee looks at that statement, I think it is good for the committee to relook at how our transport system is. Where are the Michuki rules? When Michuki established rules on how to operate the matatu sector, we saw uniforms for the first time. My hope is that with this committee, they should actually go check, interview the touts and see how they look like. Do we still have uniforms? Are people sitting in a very respected manner? Because when the Michuki rules came, people sat in a very respectful manner, because women have had a raw deal in this public transport, Mr. Speaker. They have had opportunities that somebody comes and literally sits on you and we have had those complaints. People hold people inappropriately in the same matatus. We hope that overloading will come to an end. So we want this statement, Mr. Speaker, to go beyond the Thika incident. Let them interview and let them check whether there is any behavior that is unbecoming even currently. I hope the committee can go to a station and walk incognito into matatus, even before they identify themselves. Mr. Speaker, I'm saying this because I think we should be reaching a level where our matatu touts have their names on the uniform, so that we know who they are. In fact, beyond the name and the telephone number, we need to be able to identify them. Because the reason they're behaving the way they're behaving is because they think nobody sees them. Thank God for young people who take videos these days. Any incident that takes place, they take a video. And I want to thank the people who helped this lady, because this one did not go unhelped. At least people ran after this man and were able to nab him. I thank those ones. And I thank the one who did the video, that it is making Kenyans look like watchmen all over. We are busy taking videos everywhere because of our security, but that is a very good thing that's happening, that's happening amongst our people. But can we label these people? Can we have them work like waiters? Because you go to an hotel in this country, because we are a service nation, we do a lot of hotel keeping, and it's very nice when you know the name of the waiter, you know the number of the name of the waiter, just the way we have our police and you know the number of a policeman, and you can report a policeman because you know the number. If they misbehave, you just take the number and give that number and they can be identified. The problem with our touts is that nobody can identify them. And because nobody can identify them, they think they can actually get away with anything until they are napped like this one was napped. But there are so many that are taking place across the country and nobody is able to identify them. I think there is a need for this committee to go deeper and actually help us regulate the sector. We want to call on the Minister of Roads currently to bring back the Mijugi rules. We want the Minister to be able to improve on those rules and ensure that our traveling is smooth, because currently we are telling ourselves because of climate change we need to reduce on our private vehicles, and all of us should be able to enter a matatu and take off with a matatu. We should be able to use any transport, but we must identify who is carrying you. We must be able to identify these touts. We must be able to identify your driver, so that you know that this is the driver, you know the name, and you can actually pick the telephone number just in case anything happens to you. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank Senator Mutinda for bringing out this issue. All of us were terrified when we saw the incident, but we thank the people, the public, that went after this culprit and were able to arrest him. We really must honor, respect that we have people in this country that still care, because it would have been a disaster if nobody cared for that lady at that point. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this statement, and I ask the committee to go beyond the statement and actually investigate if our sector is still regulated. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the time.
Senator Cheptumo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to comment on the statement by Senator of Migori on the issue of Morocco. And Mr. Speaker, if you look at the statement by Senator Eddy, he is seeking to know the current status of the diplomatic relations between Kenya and Morocco. Mr. Speaker, Morocco indeed is one of the leading economies in Africa, and it is very important that, Mr. Speaker, this situation or relationship between Morocco and Kenya is indeed established both in this House and for the country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a matter which my committee will definitely take it up with the ministry and will be able to update the House, Mr. Speaker, on the position. And Mr. Speaker, as I assure the House that we are going to proceed to engage the ministry and be able to come back to the House Allow me, Mr. Speaker, also to comment on the issue raised by members and the communication between your office and the comment by the PS Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, what I read from the comments of members is that I want to say that Dr. Singwei, the PS, is indeed qualified to hold that office, Mr. Speaker. He was approved by the National Assembly and is in that office, Mr. Speaker, by virtue of that approval. The only challenge, Mr. Speaker, which I see here is he was trying to clarify the true position as to whether Somaliland as an embassy in Kenya, and Mr. Speaker, my only challenge, and I want to agree with members that it is important, Mr. Speaker, that we stick to the proper communication channels that we have, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you made a statement in your office as our Speaker, having received the delegation from Somaliland, and you had some very fruitful discussions, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, what we could have done, Mr. Speaker, was to reach out to you and clarify areas that he thinks, Mr. Speaker, was not clear as were not correct in your statement. Mr. Speaker, this is the way to go. And nobody should in this House, Mr. Speaker, give the impression that the PS is unqualified, did the wrong thing by perhaps raising issues on your statement. The only complaint, Mr. Speaker, and I want to say this as the chair of the Committee of Foreign Relations and Defense, is that it is only important that the established communication systems between departments of government, our institutions, Mr. Speaker, should be pursued and followed. The PS could have been able to, Mr. Speaker, either to write to you or call you. And Mr. Speaker, I was also concerned myself, and I was able to reach out to the PS, and I was able to share with him my concern that perhaps would have been better for him, Mr. Speaker, to reach out to you and clarify whatever was not clear or correct in terms of our relationship between Kenya as a country and Somaliland. Mr. Speaker, nobody should in any way demean the office, Mr. Speaker, of the Senate and that of the Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the constitutional framework, the establishment of Parliament and that of the Executive, Mr. Speaker, these institutions, Mr. Speaker, of governance, Parliament, Executive, Judiciary, Mr. Speaker, are independent. And Mr. Speaker, it is only that we have to coordinate issues together on our governance. And so, Mr. Speaker, we should not allow any impression in the public that there is conflict, there is misunderstanding, there is miscommunication between your office, Mr. Speaker, and Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, I want to assure the House that my committee, again, Mr. Speaker, apart from the issue of Morocco, we are going also to engage the ministry. Because, Mr. Speaker, we must read from the same script as a House, especially on matters diplomacy between us and our neighbors and the countries in our region, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I want to assure members that I have listened very keenly to your concerns. And, Mr. Speaker, shortly we are going to invite the ministry, sit with them, and raise your concerns and come back to the House, Mr. Speaker, to give you the assurance that we should be able to hold this office of the Speaker of Senate and the institution of Senate, Mr. Speaker, with the respect required. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now, we will move to statements pursuant to Standing Order 56-1B. Honorable Senators, under Standing Orders, we are only allowed 30 minutes. We have gone beyond 1 hour. I have 11 chairpersons queuing to make their statement. So we will move to the Chairperson Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries. Kindly proceed to make your statement. Yeah, but before that, I had Senator Tabitha had approached me. He had a very urgent karoche. So proceed to read your two statements, Senator, and thereafter we will move to the statements pursuant to 56(1)(b).
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53(1) to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health on the closure of Nakuru War Memorial Hospital and transfer of patients to the Nakuru Provincial General Hospital. In the statement, the committee should inform the Senate about the reasons behind the nighttime transfer of patients from the Nakuru War Memorial Hospital to the Nakuru Provincial General Hospital on 28 October 2023, considering that some patients were on life support and their constitutional right to privacy and access to quality health care as outlined as the Bill of Rights were violated. Explain the reason for the prolonged closure of the Nakuru War Memorial Hospital and the control of the premises by the county security officials, despite a court order number 36 of 23, stopping the county government of Nakuru from taking over the management of the hospital pending the determination of the dispute on the management of the hospital, and state plans, if any, by the county government to compensate the hospital for losses incurred during the forceful closure and illegal occupation of its premises. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, the second statement. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53(1) to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources on the land ownership over the Nakuru War Memorial Hospital in Nakuru County. In the statement, the committee should explain why the county government of Nakuru has been frustrating the proprietor of the hospital whose lease was extended by 50 years via certificate of lease number Nakuru Municipality Block 11/107 issued on 1st March 2021 and where the hospital is located. Elucidate on the motives behind the county government attempt to forcefully take over the hospital despite the owner holding a valid title deed and a certificate of lease issued by the government, and shed light on the commitment by the county government to uphold private land rights for landowners in accordance with Article 64 A, B, and C of the Constitution, which generates land ownership under freehold and leasehold tenures. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Senator Tabitha. The chairperson, Standing Committee on Agriculture, was called out before. Is he around? Okay. Chair, national question.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I have a statement in relation to the activities of Standing Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity, and Regional Integration. Pursuant to Standing Order 56(1)(b) for the period from 1st September 2023 to 30th November 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56(1)(b) of the Senate Standing Orders to make a statement
relating to activities of Standing Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity and Regional Integration for the period from 1st September 2023 to 5th December 2023. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Standing Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity and Regional Integration is established under Standing Order 2281 of the Senate Standing Orders and is mandated to consider all matters related to the pursuit of national and inter-community cohesion, the equalization of opportunities and improvement in the quality of life and status of all persons. Regional integration, the East African Legislative Assembly and the Pan-African Parliament. Number 3, Honorable Speaker, during the period under review, the committee held a total of 28 sittings and deliberated on 5 statements and 1 legislative proposal. The committee also conducted an inquiry on gender and people with disability representation in various national and county public institutions. Number 4, Honorable Speaker, furthermore, the committee participated in Peace Week conference in Geneva, Switzerland, held a work plan retreat in Naivasha, Nakuru County, and conducted a county visit to Marsabit County. Statements, Mr. Speaker, sir, 3 statements were ongoing from various reporting periods, and 2 statements were sought for the committee during the current period, and committee considered and concluded 2, and is currently considering the remaining 3 to be concluded before the recess. Number 6, Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee is pursuing responses on the following statements. A, statement sought by Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofaya, MP, on the classification of Igamba Ngombe sub-county in Tharaka Nithi County as arid and semi-arid area, ASAL. B, statement sought by Senator Godfrey Asotsi, MP, on recruitment in public service and representation of Kenya's diversity. C, statement sought by Senator Raphael Chimera, MP, regarding the adherence to principle of meritocracy, transparency, fairness, and equal opportunity in recruitment at Competition Authority of Kenya, particularly in recruitment of the Director General of the authority. Mr. Speaker, the committee considered responses for statements and will conclude the report soon after appearance of stakeholders who have already been invited by the committee. Number 7, Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee held a joint sitting with the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations, Standing Committee on Land Affairs and Human Rights on 14 September 2023 with the National Steering Committee on Peace Building and Conflict Management to deliberate on the review of Kenya peace building architecture. Number 8, Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee also conducted a work plan retreat to prioritize legislative business and review its work plan. Further, the committee considered proposed amendments by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, on the NCIC Act legislative proposal for the County Youth Council Bill. Number 9, Mr. Speaker, sir, in conclusion, the committee is scheduled to carry out the following key activities in this session. A, consider the legislative proposal for the County Youth Council Bill with a view of enacting it into law. B, undertake a retreat with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission to consider their proposed amendment to NCIC Act. C, to undertake an inquiry on the state of access to public facilities by persons with disability in Kenya. Number 10, Mr. Speaker, sir, going forward, the committee intends to conclude pending legislative business that is before it within this quarter, particularly such business as may be subject to timelines provided under the standing orders or any other law. Number 11, Mr. Speaker, sir, in conclusion, I wish to thank your office and that of the Clerk of the Senate for the continuous support accorded to the committee in undertaking its work. And lastly, I thank the members of the committee for their commitment, and diligence in their contribution to the great achievements of the committee during the period under review. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, Senator Mohamed Chute, Chairperson, Standing Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity and Regional Integration. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, once again. Next is the Chair, Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights Committee. And Chair, as you know, there is a standing order on these statements from committees is just allocated 10 minutes. So if you can be able to... Yeah, sorry, Chairman, national question. Kindly table your statement for records purpose. Then proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I will try to limit to the extent of the timeline that you have indicated. And Honorable Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56-1B of the Senate Standing Orders to make a statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights for the months of July to December 2023. Honorable Speaker, during the period under reference, the committee held 42 sittings at which considered various legislative business as set out below. A. Legislative proposals. Honorable Speaker, the committee conducted pre-publication scrutiny on 4 legislative proposals which were referred to the committee pursuant to Standing Order 133A of the Senate Standing Orders, and these include the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2023, sponsored by Senator Raphael Chimera, the County Civic Education Bill 2023, sponsored by Senator Esther Okenyuri, the Whistleblower Protection Bill 2023, sponsored by Senator Gloria Orwoba, and the County Government State Officers Removal from Office Procedure Bill, sponsored by Senator Thangwa. The committee, Honorable Speaker, conducted and considered of the first 3 proposals and submitted its comment to the Right Honorable Speaker of the Senate. The consideration of the legislative proposal by Senator Thangwa, MP, is an active engagement before the committee. Honorable Speaker, the committee considered 2 bills which were committed to the committee, and those are the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 15 of 2023, sponsored by Senator Beth Siango, and the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Amendment Bill 2023, Senate Bills number 37 of 2023, sponsored by Senator Osotsi. The committee, Honorable Speaker, considered and concluded its consideration of the 2 bills and tabled the report to the floor of this House. On statements, Honorable Speaker, the committee considered 3 statements during this reporting period, and these are statements by Senator Mohamed Chute on the status of inquiries by EACC, that's Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, in the ASAL counties of Wajir, Mandera, Marsabit, and Samburu. Statement by Senator Mohamed Said Chute as well on the status of court construction projects in the Republic of Kenya. And lastly, statement by Senator Hamida Kibwana on gender-based violence incidents in the Republic of Kenya within the political space in Kenya. The committee, Honorable Speaker, considered the first statement. In the case of the other 2, we have invited the responses from key stakeholders and will subsequently schedule meetings to consider the statements and report our responses thereon. The petitions, Honorable Speaker, during this period were 5, and all the 5 we have tabled a report. This is the petition by Zipporah Seronei regarding mistreatment, harassment, property laws, and human rights violations meted on the family of the late Honorable Jean-Marie Seronei. Petition by Taratisio Kawe concerning the introduction of an amendment to the Constitution of Kenya and other relevant laws on the election of the Deputy Speaker, Deputy President, and Deputy Governors in the Republic of Kenya. and the petition by Muindumbingu Memorial Ngelani Association concerning historical injustices suffered by the residents of Ngelani area in Machakos County during the colonial period. The fourth petition by Laban Omusundi concerning the enactment of a clause in the electoral laws that will make sure that all nominated members of county assembly are voters and residents of the respective counties. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, petition by Honorable Simon Lenguya concerning the academic obligations for election as Speaker of a county assembly, Senate, and the National Assembly. All these reports have been tabled by the committee before the floor of this House. On other activities, Honorable Speaker, over the first 5 months, the committee has hosted and held deliberations with a visiting delegation from the African Court on Human and People's Rights. We've had breakfast session with the ICJ Kenya chapter to deliberate on legislative gaps and challenges inhibiting access to healthcare services and realization of the right to health. We've hosted and held deliberations with visiting delegations of the counterpart committees from the county assemblies of Vihiga, Nakuru, and Nandi. We have also participated in the launch of the Social Transformation Through Access to Justice 2023-2033 Blueprint and presentation of the State of the Judicial and Administration of Justice Annual Report, that is SOJA, for the year 2022-23. We have held a report writing retreat to consider the draft reports on bills and petitions before the committee, which reports I have reported, Honorable Speaker, have since been tabled. And lastly, we've held a working retreat with the Independent Policing Oversight Authority to deliberate on implementation of the report of the Committee on Extrajudicial Killings and Enforced Disappearances in Kenya. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, I wish to thank your office for the support accorded to the committee in undertaking its work, and also wish to acknowledge and appreciate the Secretariat for the support and the commitment that they have given to the committee, which in this case, Mr. Speaker, cannot be left unacknowledged. And I therefore acknowledge the office of the clerk for that particular support. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, I would love to appreciate the members of this committee for their industry, for their commitment, and also for their support towards the achievement of the achievements that we have achieved as a committee of this particular House. Honorable Speaker, I thank you, and I table the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Jelak. Next is the Chair National Security. Chair Trade.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The statement relating to activities of the Standing Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism, pursuant to Standing Order 56-1B, for the period commencing 1st July to 2023 to 30th November 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 56-1B on the standing order to make the statement on the activities of the Standing Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism for the periods commencing 1st July to 30th November 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period under review, the committee held a total of 45 meetings. Bills considered by the committee, Mr. Speaker, during the period under review, the committee considered the following bills: the County Licensing 2022 Uniform Procedure Bill 2022, Senate Bill number 9 of 2022. The County Licensing Uniform Procedure Bill is sponsored by Senator Mariam Omar, MP. The bill seeks to establish a standing uniforms procedure for licensing by county government. Status: the county committee tabled its reports on 12th April 2023. The bill is now at the committee of the whole stage. B, the startup bill 2022, Senate Bill number 14 of 2022. The startup bill 2022 was read a first time on the 15th February 2023 and is sponsored by Senator Crystal Lasige, MP. It seeks to provide a framework to encourage innovations and incentives the establishment of startups. Status: the committee tabled the report on the in the Senate on the 12th April 2023. The bill is at the Committee of the Whole. Street Vendors Protections and Livelihood Bill, Senate Bill number 41 of 2023. The Street Vendors Bill was read the first time on the Tuesday, 17th October 2023. It is sponsored by Senator Esther Okenyuri, MP. The status, the bill is currently undergoing a public participation at the committee. Petitions. Petition on the fraudulent shareholding activities and illegal acquisitions of East Africa Breweries Limited, EABL. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period under review, one petition was reported on 30th July 2023 by Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei, MP, on the fraudulent shareholding activities and illegal acquisitions of East Africa Breweries Limited, EABL. The status: the committee has undertaken engagement in the petition by Mr. Nicholas Rono, the Chief Executive Officer, Capital Market Authority and the Competition Authority of Kenya. The committee has scheduled a meeting with the Commissioner General, Kenya Revenue Authority, on Thursday, which is now today. It was supposed to be today, 2023, to consider the petition. County visits. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period on February 24th and Saturday 25th November 2023, the committee undertook the inspections visit to Busia and Bungoma counties as follows. Busia and Malaba, one stop border posts to access the state of cross-border trade between Kenya and Uganda, and further inspect the state of the border posts. Visit and engagements at the new Nawesa Industrial Park in Busia County to inspect the implementation status of the county aggregated industrial park. Visit to Kakapel Cultural Center in North Steso in Busia County to assess the visibility of the cultural shrine of the promotions of tourism and cultural heritage. Meeting with the members of the Metropolitan Teacher Circle in Bungoma as a follow-up in the statement that was requested by Senator David Wakoli, MP, on the status of Metropolitan National Circle in Bungoma County. The committee is following up on the submission of the memorandum review in the stakeholders, and the committee also undertook the inspections visit of KNTC warehouses on Thursday and 30th November 2023, following a statement regarding the productions and importations of cooking oil in Kenya. Statements. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period under review, the committee considered a total of 31 statements per the schedule attached in the annex herein, which has 10 statement has been concluded, and international travels undertaken by the committee. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period under review, the committee undertook one international travel following invitation by the Kenya National Chambers of Commerce and Industry to participate in the trade mission to United Arab Emirates on 5th to 11th November 2023 in Dubai as a build-up towards COP28. Priorities, activities for the next quarter. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee will prioritize the following business in the next quarter. The committee to undertake a report writing on the following petition, the petition on the fraudulent shareholding activities and illegal acquisitions of East Africa Breweries Limited, EABL, the Street Vendors Protections and Livelihood Statement, Bill number 41 of 2023. The committee to undertake an inspections visit to Embu County to engage in the affected Muguka transporters and further hold our workshops in CCMs responsible for trade and county of Mombasa, Nairobi, Garissa and Embu to review the matter on his access levies charged in Muguka cargo transporters. The following stakeholders engagement with teachers affected by Metropolitan National SACCO, the committee will schedule to engage with the State Department for Cooperatives, the SACCO Society Regulatory Authority, SASRA, the Teacher Service Commission on the refund on the shares and deposits and withdrawal of teachers for the said SACCO in Bungoma County. The committee is scheduled to meet with the management of Kenya Airways Airport Authority on the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority on the statement requested by Senator Samson Cherargei, Mr. MP, regarding the status of our operations and financial status of the Kenya Airways. The committee to undertake a county visit on access, the implementation and status of the special economic zones and the county integrated industrial parks in the 47 counties. And finally, the committee to undertake a committee initiated inquiries in the activities of Kenya National Trading Corporations in the importations and of essential commodities, edible oil, rice, sugar, and fertilizer during the year of 2023. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and your office, and the secretariats, and the members of the committee for enabling us and support for the committee. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I submit.
Thank you, Chair. Next is the chairperson, standing committee. Oh, kindly table the report, Chair Trade. Chairs, remember to table the reports.
Thank you.
National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations for the period between 1st of July and 30th November 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, I arise pursuant to Standing Order 56-1B to make a statement on the activities of the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations for the period commencing 1st of July to 30th November 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period under review, the committee held a total of 27 sittings, considered 7 legislative proposals, 25 statements, 4 petitions, and 1 resolution from a county assembly. Further, the committee jointly with the National Assembly's Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security considered a request for approval of deployment of officers of the National Police Service, officers to the Multinational Security Support, MSS, mission for Haiti. The committee also held 2 visits and hosted 1 foreign delegation. Mr. Speaker, in respect of legislative proposals, the committee considered the Fire and Rescue Services Professional Bill 2023, sponsored by Senator Sheikh Mohammed Abbas, MP. And the bill, Mr. Speaker, seeks to establish a regulatory and institutional framework for the fire and rescue services professionals to provide for the registration, licensing, and training of the fire and rescue services professionals. This is aimed at providing uniform standards for the regulation of fire and rescue services professionals across all counties and to set professional standards for all fire and rescue services professionals. The committee recommended that the bill proceed for publication. Mr. Speaker, the committee is also sponsoring the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2023, which seeks to remedy the misinterpretation of functions between the National Service Police Commission and the Inspector General of the National Police Service. The committee is yet to interact with the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Interior and National Administration, and the Inspector General of Police to receive their views on the bill prior to its publication. The consideration of the Disaster Risk Management Bill 2023, also sponsored by the committee, is ongoing. The committee shall proceed to publish the bill upon completion. In respect of bills, the committee considered the Public Holidays Amendment Bill 2023, sponsored by Senator Karungu Thangwa, MP. The committee conducted public participation on the bill and received one submission from the public. The committee tabled its report on the bill on 22nd of November 2023 and recommended that the bill does not proceed to the next stage in the legislative process. Mr. Speaker, with respect to statements before the committee, a total of 25 statements were sought from the committee during the period under review as annexed to this statement. The committee has received a total of 10 responses of the statements sought, which was shared with the respective senators, and awaits responses from 15 statements from the relevant ministries. Mr. Speaker, with respect to petitions, the committee completed its consideration of the petition concerning the recognition and remuneration of the village elders under the Nyumba Kumi initiative and tabled a report on the same on 31st of October 2023. The committee is currently considering the following petitions. Petition concerning the rampant theft of livestock in Kajiado, Kajiado East and Kajiado West sub-counties and Kajiado County at large. Petition also on the state of insecurity in Turkana County. And thirdly, Mr. Speaker, petition concerning persistent insecurity, cat rustling, loss of lives and property in Loroki and Malaso Division of Samburu County. The committee, Mr. Speaker, has met with the petitioners and is meeting with the various stakeholders, including the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Interior and National Administration, and the Inspector General of Police, so as to conclude on these petitions. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee is considering a resolution of the County Assembly of Elgeyo Marakwet on measures to curb banditry in Kerio Valley. The committee visited Elgeyo Marakwet County on Friday, 10th of November 2023, and met with the Governor and the County Assembly. The committee is scheduled to meet with the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Interior, National Administration, and the IG so as to finalize its reports on the resolution. Following a request from the Director of Criminal Investigations, the committee visited the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, DCI, Academy in South Sea, Nairobi, on 23rd November 2023, to assess the current status of the facility with a view to making recommendations for the better use of the facility. The committee awaits the submission of supplementary information from the DCI for completion of its report. Mr. Speaker, during the period under review, the committee, jointly with the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security, considered a request for the approval of the deployment of officers of the National Police Service to the Multinational Security Support MSS mission for Haiti. The committees concluded public participation on the request and met with the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Interior, and the Inspector General of Police. The committee tabled its report on both houses of Parliament on Wednesday, 15th November 2023, and recommended the approval of the deployment of the officers of the National Police Service to the Multinational Security Support Mission for Haiti. The National Assembly and the Senate both approved the deployment on Thursday, 16th of November 2023. Mr. Speaker, the committee met with the Japanese ambassador to Kenya on Wednesday, 29th September 2023, November 2023. The committee explored areas of mutual cooperation and sought to strengthen relations between the two countries. A working engagement to foster and strengthen bilateral relations, including the incorporation of senators to a Kenya-Japan parliamentary group and engagement with the counterpart committee of the Japan House of the Councillors is underway. Mr. Speaker, going forward, the committee intends to, 1, meet the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Interior, National Administration, and the Inspector General to conclude the legislative business pending before the committee. Visit Kajiado County to receive submissions on the petition before the committee, and finally, complete its consideration of committee-sponsored bills for publication. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Chair Security. Next is the Chairperson, Loans, Transportation and Housing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56(1) B to make a statement on the activities of the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing for the period commencing 1st July 2023 to 6th December 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing is established under Standing Order 228(3) of the Senate Standing Orders and is mandated to consider all matters relating to transport, roads, public works, housing, construction, and maintenance of roads, rails, and buildings, seaports, and communication. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period under consideration, the committee conducted the following business. A. Committee meetings. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period under review, the committee held 21 sittings. Bills. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee considered the Public Transport Motorcycle Regulation Bill 2023 that is sponsored by Senator Dr. Boni Kalwale, MP, and was read the first time in the Senate on Tuesday, 17th October 2023, and thereafter committed to the committee for consideration. The committee, Mr. Speaker, received memoranda on the bill from 5 stakeholders, which it is currently reviewing. C. Legislative proposal. The legislative proposal on the Street Naming and Property Addressing System Bill 2023 that is sponsored by Senator Fatuma Dulo, CBS MP, was referred to the committee for scrutiny on 27th November 2023. The committee is scheduled to consider it on Thursday, which was supposed to happen today, Mr. Speaker, 7th December 2023, but owing to the fact that we are here seated today, we carry it forward to the next meeting. Petitions. Mr. Speaker, sir, 3 petitions have so far been referred to the committee as follows. Petition concerning public transport in Lake Victoria between Fangano Island in Suba Central Sub-County and Mbita, Homa Bay County. The petition concerning public transport in Lake Victoria between Fangano Island in Suba Central Sub-County and Mbita, Homa Bay County was presented to the Senate on 18th October 2022 by Senator Moses Kajwang, MP, and committed to the committee. The committee met with the petitioners, the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Roads and Transport, and Kenya Ports Authority. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, the ferry is under construction and the ministry has given part of the money for that work. The only thing remaining for the committee, Mr. Speaker, is to visit the Fangano Island and thereafter draft the report for submission in this House. Petition concerning eviction and demolition of Buxton Estate, Mvita constituency. Mr. Speaker, this petition was presented on 1st March 2023. The committee considered the petition and invited several stakeholders and tabled its report on the petition on 2nd November 2023, meaning this matter was concluded, Mr. Speaker. Number 3, petition concerning title deeds for properties bought at Jamii Bora Estate, Kisaju, Kajiado County. Mr. Speaker, this petition was committed to the committee on 14th March 2023. The petitioners bought houses and shops on an off-plan housing scheme from Jamii Bora Charitable Trust, but have never been issued with title deeds to house built in Jamii Bora Estate since the year 2008 to date. The petitioners, therefore, sought the intervention of the Senate to have them issued with the title deeds for their properties. The committee met and received submissions from the petitioners, Kajiado County Government, Business Registration Services, State Department for Lands and Physical Planning, and Kingdom Bank. Mr. Speaker, we are yet to conclude on that issue, but we are almost. The 4th petition, Mr. Speaker, petition concerning construction of a pedestrian bridge at Chiromo. Mr. Speaker, the committee considered the petition and tabled its report on the petition on 31st October 2023, meaning that matter has been concluded. Statements. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period under review, 51 statements were referred to the committee for consideration, out of which 4 statements were considered and concluded. In addition, during the period, 11 statements were considered but not concluded because the committee sought supplementary information. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee further sought responses of the 36 statements from the government agencies. Some of the responses have been received but not considered, and other responses are yet to be received. Inquiries. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee is undertaking an inquiry into the urban regeneration and renewal program of the county government of Nairobi, which intends to demolish 13 estates, majority of which are in Eastlands area, Nairobi County, and redevelop the estates under the affordable housing program. The committee is concerned with the manner in which the county government of Nairobi is undertaking the program without carrying out meaningful participation by the residents of the targeted estates and the issuance of threats to the officials of the estates, residents associations who have raised issues with the manner in which the program was being carried out. It is more concerning that despite numerous invitations of the governor of Nairobi County to apprise the committee on the program, he has consistently failed to honor the invitations, giving insufficient reason for his non-appearance. The committee will continue to pursue the matter to its conclusion. Again, Mr. Speaker, we were to meet today, but owing to the fact that we are here, we have deferred that meeting to the next sitting. Messages. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee received a message for consideration jointly with the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources. The message was from the County Assembly of Nyandarua regarding a resolution by the County Assembly to petition the Senate to consult with and initiate approval of the National Environmental Management Authority, NEMA, the Kenya National Highways Authority, KENHA, the Kenya Forest Service, KFS, and the Kenya Wildlife Service, KWS, on the Ihithe Aberdare Forest Kahuroko Donyonjeru Road construction and tamaking project. The Joint Committee awaits the outcome of the report on comments on the Environmental Impact Assessment and Environmental Social Impact Assessment study in the proposed construction of the road. Madam Speaker, stakeholders engagement. The committee attention was drawn to the high number of road accidents that claimed over 4,500 deaths in the year 2022. As a result, the committee engaged stakeholders, both from the public and the private sector, that are in road safety in an effort to forge a common plan of action that will help reduce the high number of road fatalities. The engagement with more stakeholders will continue in the next reporting period. Finally, Madam Speaker, parliamentary diplomacy. Madam Speaker, sir, the committee held engagement talks with the Ambassador of Japan, His Excellency Okaniwa Ken, on a number of infrastructural development projects that the government of Japan is financing through the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA. The committee also inspected a Japan-funded community road empowerment core project, which has improved a 26-kilometer rural access road in Meru County using a technology called Do-No. Such low-cost and labor-intensive road projects provide opportunities for county governments to effectively maintain the over 120,000 kilometers of county government roads. Challenges. Madam Speaker, the non-appearance of witnesses when invited delay the operation of the committee in consideration of other business. The committee has had to issue summons for appearance of some governors. Madam Speaker, I take this opportunity to thank you, the Speaker, the Secretariat, my fellow senator, for making it possible for the committee to execute its mandate. Yours, Senator Karungo Wathangwa, Chairman, Roads, Transportation, and Housing. Thank you.
The Chairperson, Select Committee on County Public Accounts Committee. Senator Chararke.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is statement relating to the activities of the Senate County Public Accounts Committee pursuant to Standing Order 56(1)B. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, during our deliberation, we noticed that there is a challenges of filling in the internal audit committees in counties, where they play a crucial role in effective of governance and risk management, such as internal control, risk management. Madam Speaker, this, however, the challenge of attracting qualified individuals to serve in internal audit committees persist, mainly due to the often lower salaries offered as prescribed by SRC. To address this issue, SRC may need to reconsider their compensation with structures and offer competitive remuneration to ensure our internal committees, Madam Speaker, are able to function. Madam Speaker, during the interrogation of the various county entities during this period, the committee noted that most entities failed to disclose their contingent liabilities in the financial statements. County governments do not need to recognize a contingent liability, but it should disclose details of any contingencies, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the committee also observed that most of the county entities have incurred huge legal fees, and they include the county executive of Uasin Gishu, Machakos, Nairobi City County, and the Machakos County Assembly, running into billions, contracted lawyers and their firms as legal fees. The committee has observed that some of the county entities are deliberately not utilizing the office of the county attorney, which US was instrumental in passing in the last session, and that is why they like outsourcing legal services. Additionally, the committee observed that counties have failed to explore alternative dispute resolution to try and resolve and to save billions. Madam Speaker, The committee continues, and it is a concern in the high interest in the unhealthy size and growth of wage bills in many of the counties. In the last quarter of the committee wrote to 7 counties to explain the measures they have taken to reduce the wage bill to recommended at 5%. Threshold and plans to write and invite more county executives during the 3rd session to deliberate on the issue in a bid to ensure fiscal prudence. Madam Speaker, the issue of wage bill in counties, almost all of them are violated. Madam Speaker, the committee undertook a county visit through Senate Mashinani, for example, in Turkana, and it is notable, to county headquarters, governors, official residents, Lord of Fire Station, speakers, residents, and the new Turkana County Assembly Chamber. Madam Speaker, the committee observed the county head governors and other residents that we visited had either stalled or taken too long to complete. Full payments on projects and contractors were not on site. The committee directed the EACC to take interest on the projects, especially in Turkana County. Further, the controller of budget to also question and scrutinize requisition relating to the highlighted projects in Turkana County. Madam Speaker, adopted a report of the finance and budget on the county government's infrastructure projects comprising county executive headquarters offices, assembly chambers and offices, and county state offices, residents that cap the costs of constructing the governor's residences at 45 million and speaker's residence at a cost of 35 million. However, the committee observed that most of the counties already awarded contracts that had gone beyond this sum. We have therefore directed the controller of budget to stop release of funds made for reconstruction, because the governor's residence should cost a maximum of 45 million and speaker's residence at 35 million. Madam Speaker, there's 9 point. The committee observed there was rampant voiding of payments by county governments. The approved cash plans by controller of budget are not adhered to, contrary to Section 22 of the COB Act 2016. The committee recommends the COB to institute mechanisms to enforce compliance of approved cash plans by counties. Further, the committee recommends that the Senate Delegated Legislation Committee fast-tracks the consideration and adoption of controller of budget regulations for better carrying out and giving effect to any provision of the Act. Madam Speaker, the committee has met and interrogated many county assemblies. However, most of the county assemblies are still grappling with poor asset management. Majority of county assemblies do not possess titles to the land on which assemblies sit. The committee has since been informed that it has been established by Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council, IBEC, to validate assets and liabilities inherited from defunct and local authorities, and expected to report back between January and March 2024. And when the report is ready, we shall bring it. Madam Speaker, point number 11, the Senate, through the county allocation revenue, has over years increased budgetary ceilings to county assemblies, way above the recommended 7% threshold under the PMF Act 2012. In some cases, assemblies have received as much as 16% of the county revenue, for example, Kirinyaga, while on the other hand, assemblies still receive less than 7%, for example, Mombasa. Madam Speaker, the committee also fast-tracking of legislative and administrative measures, county assembly financial autonomy, and I know that amendment has been read the first reading, so that we can give most of the county assemblies financial autonomy in their work. Madam Speaker, point number 12, and it's of concern of the country, is pending bills continue to be a big problems. Madam Speaker, first quarter of the 3rd session, the committee shall convene a meeting with Auditor of General Office, Controller of Budget, Council of Governors, National Treasury, and EACC to define actionable measures to ensure integrity and completeness of accounts payable across the counties, which continue, and pending bills continue to affect most of the counties. Madam Speaker, point number 13. During the interrogation of OAG reports, we noticed non-remittance of pension deductions to the relevant pension schemes. And therefore, the total outstanding pension liabilities accrued as submitted by the COB indicates a total of whooping 85 billion as at 31st March that has not been remitted to the relevant pension schemes. Point number 14, Madam Speaker, on human resource issues affecting 47 counties, the committee observed that the Secretary to the County Public Service Board by qualification must be a certified secretary and not certified human resource practitioner. The committee observed there is a lacuna in law. The committee noted where there is as strict requirements in management of financial resources in the counties, there is a leisurely approach in managing human resource. It was observed that the qualification requirement for those responsible for managing human resources were not strangely spelled out compared to those managing financial resources. And therefore, Madam Speaker, we shall bring an amendment to that. Finally, in conclusion, I wish to thank the members of the committee, the members of the committee and the dedicated secretariat and your office, Madam Speaker, for the support and dedicated, who usually sit for long hours. Madam Speaker, this is one of the committees you can sit the whole day, running with numbers, grappling with numbers, and therefore we are working hard to reduce the backlog of audit reports. The committee will use various strategies, including subcommittees in county assemblies, merger of financial years, to shift to a more proactive mandate and to ensure the Senate in concurrent its intervention. And I want to call upon members of this House to be always, when the reports of various counties are brought for adoption, to look at it and debate and give suggestions to how we can improve the work of County Public Accounts Committee. Madam Speaker, with those very many remarks, allow me to table the report of this committee. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Do we have any representative for the Chairperson, Select Committee on Public Investments and Special Funds Committee? That statement is deferred. Any person for the Chairperson, Select Committee on Delegated Legislation? That statement is deferred. We now move on to two statements by the Senator for Lamu, Senator Kamau. Senator Sige.
Thank you, Speaker. Just wanted to clarify, Speaker, if we will be able to have a chance to comment on the statements read, the reports made by the chairs of the different committees.
Because of time, it may not be possible. So I don't think we will have that time.
Chair, thank you. Speaker, thank you for that. Though there is a real burning issue that I have on the report by JLAC committee, and I wish to table it, Chair, as this is the last session for the year.
I have already ruled, Senator Hasige. Thank you.
No, but we've not been given time to speak on the reports. We've been waiting.
Senator Lamu, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transport and Housing concerning maintenance of the Lamu-Gariseni Road. In the statement, the committee should identify the contractor responsible for the maintenance of Lamu-Gariseni Highway and outline the specific tasks encompassed within the scope of work for the works assigned to the contractor. Number 2, clarify if the contractor is obligated by the terms of the contract to perform bush clearing along both sides of the road, and if so, to what extent. And number 3, assess whether the Ministry of Roads and Transport has established mechanisms to guarantee and to maintain activities aligned within the stipulated standards. Madam Speaker, while on my feet, I have another statement. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and National Resources regarding the resettlement of residents occupying land intended for the establishment of a power generation plant in Lamu County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, indicate whether the government has issued the title deed for the 3,400 acres of land in Bahar Ward, Mpeketoni to Kenwind Kenya Limited for the establishment of power generation plant in Lamu County. Number 2, explain the fate of the residents occupying the land, considering that the county had subdivided it and intended to issue title deeds to approximately 2,000 families who have resided there for an extended period of time. Number 3, clarify whether the resettlement plan was executed in accordance with the law, outlining steps taken to guarantee the affected individuals proper resettlements and compensation. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Chairperson, Select Committee on Public Investments and Special Funds. Quickly make your statement in about 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to make a statement on the activities of the CPIC Committee, pursuant to Standing Order number 56-1B, and I will be very quick, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, during this period, 1st July 2023 to 8th December 2023, we have held a record of 66 meetings, either within the presence of Parliament or outside. And in these meetings, we handled 3 categories of issues. The first issue was consideration of the audit report, the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements of water companies in all the 47 counties, where, Madam Speaker, we handled about 80 water service providers in counties that appeared before us. Madam Speaker, some of these reports have been tabled here in this House. We have so far tabled the report in relation to Vihiga County, Bomet County, Kisii and Nyamira counties, Kisumu County, Kwale County, Nyeri County, and Wajir County. And this is part of the order paper that we have for today, a motion on the reports for those counties. Madam Speaker, we are working very swiftly to handle the remaining accounts, reports for tabling in the first quarter of next year, 2024. Madam Speaker, the third thing that we have handled as a committee was an inquiry into the matter of non-remittance of pension deduction by counties, where the counties owe pension funds in excess of 80 billion shillings as a result of non-remittance of pension funds. And in this case, we have managed to have an engagement with the National Treasury, with the Kenya Revenue Authority, Controller Budget, NSSF, Retirement Benefit Authority, and the 2 pension fund. That is a LAB fund, CPF LAB Trust. We also had a very big stakeholder engagement, which served as a public participation session in Mombasa. And Madam Speaker, the report is ready for tabling this afternoon. And this report is going to be one of the most important reports that this Senate has ever produced, and giving direction on how to handle this problem of non-remittance of over 80 billion shillings by counties. Madam Speaker, the third thing, in the process of examining the audit report for water companies, we noted there were various cross-cutting issues affecting the water sector, and such as assets and liability transfers, the role of the Regional Water Works Development Agency in water provision, and the huge loans that have been undertaken by the national government through these regional water works. Madam Speaker, as a result, we agreed to conduct an inquiry into these issues, and we invited all the players in the water sector, including the regional water works agencies, Ministry of Water, WASREB, WASPA, and others. And Madam Speaker, we are only remaining with engaging the Council of Governors, the Water Committee of the Council of Governors, for us to complete the report, which we will table in this House. Madam Speaker, in that regard, I have seen on the order paper that we have a bill on the water bill. I would request, with the indulgence of this House, that report that I'm talking about is going to be very informative in driving the debate on the water bill, which I found to be unconstitutional, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I said, we have also tabled those reports. Madam Speaker, the committee has now embarked on consideration of the audit report for special funds. And we have over 200 special funds in counties. We have so far handled 7 counties so far. We are going to look into special funds in all the 47 counties. And we are noting serious issues in the management of special funds in counties. And these are possible avenues for corruption in the counties. Madam Speaker, the issue funds like bursary funds, these are funds which are having challenges, car loan and mortgage scheme fund, the social protection funds, emergency fund, and many other funds like the youth and the women enterprise fund, which are having challenges. Madam Speaker, so far we have had engagements with Bomet County, Kakamega County,
Senator
Taveta.
Osotsi, we agree.
Yeah, I'm finalizing, Madam Speaker. Taita Taveta, Trans Nzoia, Kwale, Migori, Nandi. And some of the issues emerging, as I finalize, Madam Speaker, is the failure by the fund managers of this fund to submit copies of their quarterly financial report, the control of budget, as required by the law. Counties not submitting financial statements of the funds to the Office of the Auditor General. Counties not limited on the number of funds that they can set up. Some counties have over 10 funds. Counties establishing funds but not providing resources. These are some of the challenges that are there that we'll be able to define in our report. Madam Speaker, the committee is expected to have in the new year a stakeholders engagement with the water sector players in the first week of February 2024 to finalize the report which we will table in this House. And my expectation, Madam Speaker, is that this report is really going to give this House the direction on how to engage on matter of water, which, as you know, is largely devolved. Madam Speaker, I submit and I table the report for the County Public Investments and Special Funds Committee. I thank my members for the support. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I table.
Next order. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, sir. Madam Speaker, sorry. I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 57-1 to hereby present to the Senate the status of the business before the House. I'll try and really be brief because I can see time is far much spent.
Order, Senator Cherargei, can you consult with
Thank you.
Senior Counsel in Lawtons, please?
Madam, I was saying I'll try and be brief in my statement because I can see time is far much spent and we still have to do an adjournment motion, Madam Speaker, that will be moving in the next few minutes. Madam Speaker, as you are aware, today, Thursday, the 7th of December, is our last sitting of this session with the Senate calendar for the second session. Honorable Senators will also note that at yesterday's sitting, the Senate passed a resolution to alter the hours of sitting to hold today, sitting at 9:30 to 1, which in effect suspended the afternoon sitting. As such, therefore, there will be no afternoon sitting today, and the House will proceed on recess today from 1 p.m. Madam Speaker, the beginning of the second session in February 2023 was a fairly tumultuous with divided Senate along party lines following the very hotly contested general election. It was impossible to transact legislative business. Today, as I stand here, Madam Speaker, I'm extremely happy
that as the session wore on, the two sides of the political divide have closed ranks, and we have begun to appreciate each other for the common good of our country. This has resulted in the passing of very crucial legislative business. With respect to bills, the House of the Senate has a total of 59 bills have so far been published, out of which 5 have been enacted into law. 8 have been concluded and have been referred to the National Assembly for consideration. 31 bills are pending conclusion at various stages in the Senate. 6 bills are undergoing concurrence pursuant to Article 110 of the Constitution. 5 bills have been denied concurrence. 2 bills were negative at the second reading stage. 2 bills were withdrawn by the respective movers. Madam Speaker, in terms of petition, the House has so far received 44, 22 of which have been concluded and the reports have been tabled, and 22 are pending conclusion by the respective standing committees. That's particularly impressive. But as Speaker, I want to single out, like we did last week, the Committee on Justice and Human Rights Affairs, which has concluded 8 petitions and brought them before the House. I commend them. The chair has just left the floor a few minutes ago. With regards to motion, 89 motions have been filed, out of which 6 are pending conclusion. Honorable senators will note that all pending motions, unfortunately, will lapse at the rouse of the House this afternoon. The procedure of questions continue to be used by many senators to seek issues that affect the people that they represent. There are a total of 90 questions that have been filed. Out of these, 51 have been responded to by the cabinet secretaries. This is now with specific reference to questions to cabinet secretaries. Out of the 90 that have been filed, 51 have been responded to. 3 have been withdrawn and 36 are pending. I am particularly impressed by the decision or by the minority side, Madam Speaker, to join us eventually in this very important exercise. It took a while from our colleagues from the minority side to appreciate this important avenue that we use to table questions and ask cabinet secretaries to respond before us and follow the same with supplementary questions. I'm impressed and looking forward to this coming Wednesday's next session, Madam Speaker, where we'll have the full House actually, unlike the scenes that have been here the past few months. I also must celebrate, Madam Speaker, the Senate Mashinani program that we held from the 25th to the 29th in Lodo, Turkana County. When, Madam Speaker, we made a decision at the SPC to take this program to the far-flung corners of the county, I could not have been more impressed than what I saw in Turkana, where senators sat for the full length of that particular period and interacted with residents. Of course, we got to get feedback. I saw people complain that we didn't get to interact with them as much as possible. But over and above, many of the residents of Turkana appreciate the things that we are able to answer to them. As we move towards the next phase of the program and next year deciding, it is my proposition to the House that we still stick with proposals of taking this program to the so-called forgotten corners of this country. Aside from the legislative agenda, the Senate participated in the Devolution Stakeholders Forum and Devolution Conference was in Gishu as well. The lessons learned from these 2 events continue to shape the discourse on how the Senate undertakes its mandate. The Devolution Conference was particularly instrumental in highlighting crucial areas of legislation, including on-source revenue for county governments to support devolved functions, housing, planning and urban development, investment in counties, strengthening food systems, and empowerment of youth. Continue to be programs that were highly discussed. The Senate also, while with regards to Turkana, Madam Speaker, the Senate sought to promote the role of the work of Senate in general, highlight the existing new opportunities and engage in legislative process, develop and strengthen partnerships at the county level. The Senate and its committees were able to interact with the people. Madam Speaker, as we come to the conclusion of the second session, I would like to express my gratitude, by extension that of the Senate leadership, to all the honorable senators of this House for their unwavering dedication and commitment to serve the people of Kenya. The past months have been filled with robust debates, diligent committee work, and passage of crucial legislative business that will shape our next agenda. Madam Speaker, it goes without saying, and I've said this to colleagues even in our informal sessions at the Senator's Lounge, that I don't recall a particular
long recess that we concluded without reconvening for one reason or the other. So I want to request senators, including my friend Eddie, that even as you enjoy yourself during the recess, keep your phone open and keep checking your messages. Duty may call any given time. In fact, county assemblies have a knack of recalling this house just days to Christmas with business that is brought here. Last year was one such case. It is my hope that no governor falls into trouble with MCAs and warrant the recall of this house so that at least we can rest. Senators have worked extremely hard the last few months, and that's something that we must appreciate. But you will recall, and you do know, members, that there is very important business that we were not able to conclude, including equalization fund, which we have not been able to conclude on as we go on recess today. We have not also been able to conclude on the county government additional allocation. I know we have formed a mediation committee, but they are yet to meet because the National Assembly have specific issues that they have raised with the Council of Governors, which they first want to be addressed before the mediation exercise can commence. Therefore, it goes without saying, Madam Speaker, that I know for a fact that we shall reconvene somewhere along this long recess period, Madam Speaker, because if not for anything, just to consider those bills so that we can do what we need to do so that we can have funds go to our counties. Lastly, of course, is interventions that we need to make on the state of the economy, and you understand the challenges that we are facing, Madam Speaker. I would have said many things about the situation as it is. I think I had alluded to some of the comments that I mentioned earlier, particularly on the issue of privatization. Madam Speaker, it goes that we've handled our economy, despite finding it in a very difficult situation, better than at least all the other four that have served a full term. It still remains to be a matter of debate what will happen, because the current president has only served 1 year. So we will judge him after he has concluded his term, Madam Speaker. This privatization exercise that many people are raising concern about, many of them are not genuine about it. You will know that this is actually a brainchild of President Mwai Kibaki. If you agree with his school of thought and how we need to manage our economy, you cannot hail Mwai Kibaki and not hail the privatization exercise. I know people have concerns about how the exercise is to be conducted. That's why I'm calling upon leaders to now take the opportunity that has been provided by the National Treasury to give their views on the privatization exercise. Instead of when wananchi are out there saying, oh, don't sell KICC, then you are also here saying, don't sell KICC. Yet nobody has said KICC is up for sale. When you speak about concession, concession is a practice, Madam Speaker. First of all... Majority,
would you kindly just conclude on your statement and then engage that on the adjournment?
Okay, because in the interest of time. Madam Speaker, I appreciate. I want to wish honorable senators a happy Jamhuri Day, a Merry Christmas, and a prosperous 2024. I thank you all, colleague senators, for your participation in the House. Thank you.
Next order.
Order number 8, the Public Service Values and Principles Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 46 of 2022, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Public Service Values and Principles Act and to provide for connected purposes. Order number 9, the National Construction Authority Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 59 of 2022, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the National Construction Authority Act and for connected purposes. Order number 10, the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Statutory Instruments Act.
Honorable members, will now move to order number 32.
Order number 32, motion, adjournment of the Senate.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, that's a motion actually. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 31-3 that the Senate do adjourn until Tuesday, the 13th of February, 2024. Madam Speaker, you'd appreciate that this is our last sitting. I have mentioned earlier in my statement that we actually moved a motion yesterday to amend the calendar and agreed that our colleagues from the sporting department need to prepare, because many of them are leaving this afternoon for Kigali. Some have actually left, and therefore it will be important that we transact. It's unfortunate we were not able to conclude on the business we intended to, but be that as it may, I have already mentioned that we will come back. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I know many colleagues want to say one or two things about this before we adjourn. Therefore, I want to request Senator Kinyua to second the motion.
Who is seconding? Okay.
Asante, Bwana Spika. Speaker, na chukua fursa hii kuunga mkono mswada huu wa kuahirisha kikao. Bwana Spika, mwaka huu kwa sababu Seneti imekuwa na mambo mengi ambayo imetekeleza, Bwana Spika, ikumbuke kwamba Seneti hii walienda mpaka Turkana mashinani, Bwana Spika. Wamefanya vikao mahali kwingi, Bwana Spika. Na vile vile, Bwana Spika, tulienda mpaka kaunti ya Uasin Gishu tukiendelea na majukumu ambayo tumepewa kufanya, Bwana Spika. Na Speaker, Seneti hii kwa sababu wamekuwa na yale majukumu mengi, Bwana Spika, ni vizuri waweze kwenda katika sehemu zao ambazo wanawakilisha kwenda kupumzika, Bwana Spika, alafu warejelee Speaker, warejelee maswala yao mwaka ujao kwa kasi zaidi, Bwana Spika. Speaker, ikumbuke wazi ya kwamba mwaka huu ndio nchi hii ilipata kiangazi, Bwana Spika. Vile vile mwaka huu Speaker, nchi hii kulikuwa na maandamano, Bwana Speaker. Speaker, ikumbuke mwaka huu tena ndio tumepata mafuriko, Speaker. Kwa hivyo 10 Speaker, ni ya kwamba ni vizuri angalau Seneti hii ichukue likizo waweze kuangalia hayo mambo yote kwa kindani, Bwana Spika, na mwaka ujao tunapokuja tuweze kuangazia sheria ambazo tayari zinaletwa katika bunge hii, na kushukuru maseneta ambao wamechangia. Spika, kwa sababu kuna ndugu zangu wanataka kuchangia na kuongea mengi, sitaki kuongea zaidi ya hapo, lakini niwatakie wa Kenya Krismasi yenye mafanikio na vile vile mwaka mpya ambao watapata mambo mengi ambayo yataweza kuleta nchi hii yetu mbele, Bwana Spika. Nashukuru.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question that pursuant to Standing Order 31-3, the Senate do adjourn until Tuesday, 13th February 2024. Senator Matthew.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'm rising on Standing Order 111 on limitation of debate. Honorable Speaker, it's only 20 minutes to 1 o'clock, and I know a few colleagues would want to say something on this particular motion. So I would want to propose that we limit debate to 3 minutes. I ask Senator Edith second.
Madam Speaker, I think that it is only fair that all members get time to share on this. Therefore, the proposal by Senator Matthew is in order, and I do second.
It is so agreed. Senator Oruba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to take this opportunity to, first of all, thank my party, United Democratic Alliance, for nominating me to come and sit in this house. It's been a wonderful 1 year learning the ropes of this house. I want to also thank my party leader, William Samoei Ruto, for having nominated me as well for this position. Madam Speaker, it's been 1 year of me serving in this House in capacity as a Vice Chair of the ICT Committee, where I highlighted the issues of data protection. I proposed the bill of the Konza Technopolis bill, and in that time I was also able to set up a caucus for women MPs in ICT. Madam Speaker, I have been privileged to serve in the National Cohesion Committee as well as the Delegated Legislation Committee. And in my time there, I have learnt a lot and I've been able to represent women in the best way possible. And Madam Speaker, one of the things that I would like to highlight and give progress is the issue of period poverty. As you all know, in February 14th, I had the accident here in the Senate. And Madam Speaker, just from that moment, it was an opportunity for us as legislators to put into motion what we were sent here to do, Madam Speaker. And I'm happy to report that the bill on free sanitary pads is in motion and is set to come in the next session for the first reading, Madam Speaker. It's out for public participation. Madam Speaker, I want to say that I have been very excited and I continue to be excited to serve my party in this capacity. And Madam Speaker, as we conclude this year, I think one of the lessons that I have learned and I continue to learn is that as I represent the women in this Senate, I will continue to speak up on the issues that actually affect the women. And even as we are closing, going for our Christmas holidays, as we observe the 16 days of activism, the GBV, gender-based violence, Madam Speaker, I want to urge my fellow senators, especially the men, that in this festive season, Madam Speaker, the love language that women would like to hear in this festive season and to continue is not violence. Our love language is we want to be loved, we want to be appreciated, and as we continue to observe these 16 days of gender-based violence, Madam Speaker, we want you to go out and share the love. So, Merry Christmas to everyone, happy festive season, and keep safe so that we can see you in the next session. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Professor Ojenda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In seconding the motion, I must allow the members of this House who through one long year have not only contributed to the motions before this House, but have made a lot of steps in ensuring that this House functions the entire year. Majority Leader Aaron Cheriot has steered this House by diligently presenting papers, ensuring that we debate motions. Minority Leader, from a tumultuous beginning, has done his bit, ensured that this House pulls from one side where the interest of the country is involved. Madam Speaker, sir, I think as we go for the festivities and aware that this is a week where we celebrate the female gender and generally we stand up against violence, I will request all of us to do what they can, not just in support of or to speaking against gender-based violence, but to ensure that out there we encourage our youth, that we work for this country. I know that my friend Senator Cheriot had a football match only last week, and many other leaders, I think, are having matches that bring together youth to speak to two things. One, Madam Speaker, is environmental conservation. I think that's an effort that we must all pull towards. But secondly, as we celebrate those who came ahead of us, let us look to skills and to qualities that will ensure that we serve as senators who deliver for this country. Thank you, Madam Speaker, sir.
Senator Methu.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I also want to spare some few minutes to my colleagues. Honorable Speaker, I would want to first say that I'm very grateful to the people of Nyandarua who gave me an opportunity to come to this Senate. It has been a great session, especially for those of us who are here for the first time, because we have had a very, a very good time of learning and sharpening our skills in leadership. I've been particularly very, very, very happy as the Chairman Committee on Lands, Environment and Natural Resources, because as a committee we've been able to process bills that have been assented to become law, Honorable Speaker. And we would want to first thank the party leadership, especially my majority leader, the Honorable Aaron Cheriot, who has always had our hands, especially those of us who are new legislators here, Honorable Speaker. He has been very, very, his humility is something that all of us would want to emulate, Honorable Speaker, because he's a very big person who works very small. So it is such a challenge, especially to those of us who become majority leaders in the future, Honorable Speaker. Finally, Honorable Speaker, allow me to round all the colleagues who have been here. We've had our highs, we have had our lows, Honorable Speaker, but the fabric that has held us together, Honorable Speaker, including yesterday that we had a bipartisan issue, Honorable Speaker, when we are supposed to speak as a house, especially in regards to respect for this particular house, we've been able to hold together, we've been able to speak together, we've been able to defend our house, because, Honorable Speaker, there is no way we can be able to speak for the other Kenyans if we cannot be able to speak for ourselves, Honorable Speaker. So I thank you, Honorable Speaker. I thank your office because you have been able to facilitate us, the members, to do our duties. We would want to thank the Secretariat, the clerk of this Senate, and the whole team that serves in our in the Secretariat, including the Secretariat that serves in our committees, Honorable Speaker. I would want to finish there. I wish my colleagues Merry Christmas, Honorable Speaker. I wish them a prosperous New Year, Honorable Speaker, and I would also want to wish the people of Kenya, especially the people of Nyandarua that I represent here, Honorable Speaker, I would want to wish them a Merry Christmas, Honorable Speaker. I finally would want to say that I'm very happy to become a senator here, and if the people of Nyandarua are watching, I would want to ask them, let them not take this privilege from me, Honorable Speaker. I would want to continue serving them until that time that I feel that it is enough, Honorable Speaker. I thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your holidays.
Honorable Senators, I will extend the time. I'll use the discretion to extend the time by 15 minutes, so to allow everybody to speak. Senator Omtata.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. It has been a great experience for me to be in this house. I've learned more than I've taught. I've met my great friends like Majority Leader Cheriot, very, very eloquent and capable leader. I've met the indomitable lion from Nandi. I've met my longtime friend Karen. I've met I've met the bullfighter. I've met the deep state in Mundigi. I've been quite an experience. I've met Eddie Okech, reminds me of Olo Aringo, and many others. So it has been a pleasant time to be in this house. I've also learned a lot of what this house does, that it is extremely busy. You can hardly have time for anything else. And so I think that the whole day will be deserved to give us an opportunity to get back to our constituents and have the festive season with them, and also to be able to get recharged for the next session. So mine is just to say thank you to everybody whom I've met in this house, from the members to the support staff, to everybody. I think nobody has disappointed me, and I speak as a happy person. I've met my son, the Senator of Nyandarua, Senator Mithu, is a great fellow. So I think it has been worthwhile, and I have been able to represent issues concerning Busia and the nation because I felt at home. I felt not intimidated by anything, and I'll cut my speech short by wishing everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I give the time to other people also to address the House. Thank you very much, Your Honorable Speaker.
Senator Mundigi.
Asante Mr. Speaker. Naunga mkono hii mambo ya kuahirisha kikao ndio tuende mfumo wa Christmas. Mimi wakati nikuja hapa najivunia leo kwa kipindi ya miaka mmoja nikuja nikakuta marafiki 67 maseneta na speaker na pia wafanyikazi wale wanatusaidia wa Senate makraka ma secretaries na pia nikajifunza na majority senator wa Kericho na Segei senator wa Nandi na pia Omtata na pia Mburu Fighter na wale wengine wote na Okech senator Okech kutoka Migori. Nimejifunza mengi, kwa hiyo nashukuru. Na pia nataka niambie watu wa Kenya, wakati uko hapa tuko na Azimio na Kenya Kwanza, lakini tukitoka nje tunakunywa chai pamoja. Nilikuwa ikifikia itakuwa ni vita, lakini hakuna vita. Ya pili, naambia watu wa Embu County tuko na 4 sub counties, Mbeere North, Mbeere South, Manyata na Runyenje. Nampenda sana kwa sababu mlimpatia kura kwa watu 12 ambao walikuwa na kila kitu, lakini mimi sikuwa na chochote, lakini mkanipa kura zenu. Kwa hiyo kwa hii kipindi imebakia, nataka kuambia nyinyi watu wa Embu tuko pamoja, makanisa wote muendelee kuniombea niweze kuwa na nguvu ya kutetea nyinyi katika Senate. Ya mwisho ni kushukuru chama changu ambaye ni Democratic Party ikiwa kwa Kenya Kwanza na rais wetu na deputy pia tunamuunga mkono tuweze kuwa pamoja. Ya mwisho ni kusema tuwe na Christmas njema na mwaka mpya. Hiyo ingine nikimalizia ni ile inakuja ni mambo ya kuwa happy Jamhuri Day, na pia nasema wale watu wanaenda Rwanda na wale walienda tuende kitu kimoja, na pia tuwe na mambo ya kushindana tukikuja tuwe mashujaa wako na nguvu. Asante Mr. Speaker, naunga mkono. Senator Mundigi, Embu County.
Senator Khalwale.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to join the rest of our colleagues in wishing all of us well during the recess, and I want to just make 2 points. The first one is that we are very happy as the farmers of Kakamega, Western Province, and Western Kenya in the steps that the government is taking in stabilizing the sugar industry and the sugarcane planting adventure. Madam Speaker, I would like to urge colleagues to join us, senators from the sugarcane belt. We wish to promote the principle of shared prosperity. Every time there is a deficit in the sugar that is produced locally, Treasury now normally opens up for imported sugar. We want this shared prosperity to be applied this way. We amend the law so that 50% of imported sugar should be imported by outgrowers farmers organization. Mumia Sugar Company, Sony Sugar, Mohoroni, Butali Sugar, Chemelil, West Kenya, Miwani, and even the new Rift Valley factory. This will open way for shared responsibility. My final point, Madam Speaker, is that even as we celebrate, this week we have gone into mourning in our community because of 2 great leaders. The first one, I mentioned him here, Honorable Sifuna, but the second one is a small man, but a big man, from Randa village of Itenyi in Shinyalu. A great man has gone to rest. Julius Alekwa Amalemba. He is equably one of the greatest bullfighters of his generation. He will be buried over the weekend with all the galas of bullfighting. I want to invite colleagues, if you'll have time, there is a culture in our community called Shirembe. This will be one of the most epic functions that will take place at Mubendera in Shiranda, in Mranda Ward, to celebrate Julius Alekwa Amalemba. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Eddie.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. And I think that this has been a very serious year of opportunities and challenges in Senate. And those opportunities, I wouldn't have experienced them if you're not for the people of Migori County. And I want to thank the people of Migori County for trusting in me that I could be able to be a voice of representing them in this house. Indeed, sometimes the work that we do in this house, Madam Speaker, is very elusive, sometimes to the general public, but it's a lot of work. And in that same spirit, I want to take this chance to really appreciate our staffers in Parliament, of course led by the clerk, Nyegenye, in absentia. I hope that Mogera will receive this on behalf of the entire staffers of the Senate. It has been a lot of work that they have done. It takes a lot of work to do bills. It takes a lot of work to run committee meetings. It takes a lot of work to review these statements and engage stakeholders in different perspectives. We really do appreciate them. And in the spirit of what Senator Boni Alwale has said, I actually think that it's very important to critically look at this sugar industry. Our farmers have suffered enough, and I think that I want even to invite a more brave and bold move in that legislation, that the sugar cane industry should actually be profiled as a crop plant, food crop, so that this idea of profiling it as a cash crop is really putting difficulties in terms of tax and trade to sugarcane farmers. I hope that the tea farmers as well as the coffee farmers can be able to embrace, those who are in the house, to be able to make sugarcane a food crop, so that the trade can be good. But as I finish, Madam Speaker, I think one of the biggest opportunities also here is that people have got to discover themselves. Somebody like Methu was a little bit confused whether his father was Baichu from Meru. But now he has just realized that his father is actually the senator for Busia, Senator Mutata. So Methu must learn to trace his roots. But because majority is here, and the whip, I want to plead with you, majority whip and majority leader, that the place of Parliament, even if sometimes when it looks like we really are scared of facing the executive, the place of Parliament must be protected. I think that the Parliament has faced a lot of challenge because the executive are sometimes ignored our place and not prioritized us. And I think that the spirit is Parliament must be prioritized. We are going for Christmas without food in our mouth. We are going for Christmas without money in our
Senator Githuku.
Asante, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, ningependa nichukue nafasi niweze kusapoti mswada huu ambao umeletwa na kiongozi na kinara wa wengi katika bunge hili. Mheshimiwa Speaker, ninataka niseme ya kwamba mimi ni kati ya masenators ambao wameweza kupiga muhura wa kwanza katika seneta hili, na ninataka kushukuru kwa sababu nimesoma mengi kupitia kwa uongozi ambao umekuwa katika bunge hili. Lakini Madam Speaker, nataka niseme kwamba mimi ni kati ya senators ambao wamemaliza muhula huu akiwa na majonzi na masikitiko makubwa kufuatia shida na matatizo ambayo imekuwa ikikumba watu wangu. Mheshimiwa Speaker, saa hii tunapoongea watu wangu katika kaunti ya Lamu wamepata kilio kikubwa kwa sababu ya mauaji ya kiholela ambayo yamekuwa yakiendelea katika kaunti ya Lamu. Mheshimiwa Speaker, jambo hili limeleta aibu katika serikali yetu ya Jamhuri ya Kenya, na ningependa niseme ya kwamba serikali sasa inafaa iweze kutilia mkazo kuona kwamba hakuna tena mauaji katika kaunti ya Lamu itakayoendelea kuanzia sasa na kuendelea. Madam Speaker, tunaelekea msimu ambao ni wa Krismasi, msimu ambao Madam Speaker ni wa watu kusherehekea. Lakini sitaki kusema kwamba Lamu kuna furaha, kwa sababu saa hii tunapoongea kuna shida na matatizo kufuatia mauaji ambayo yamekuwa akipatikana katika kaunti yangu ya Lamu. Mheshimiwa Speaker, mafuriko pia ni jambo ambalo pia limeathiri watu wangu katika kaunti ya Lamu. Ningependa niseme ya kwamba serikali iweze kuangazia kwa kina shida na matatizo ambayo inakumba watu wangu wa kaunti ya Lamu. Madam Speaker, mimi niko na imani kwamba serikali ikiamua kwamba hakuna tena mauaji katika kaunti ya Lamu, hakutakuwa na mauaji. Tuko na serikali ambayo iko na uwezo, iko na kila kitu, na sasa natoa wito kwa serikali ya kwamba sasa kuendelea Hatutaki tena kusikia mauaji ya kiholela katika kaunti ya Lamu, Madam Speaker. Na ningependa pia vile vile serikali iweze kutuambia ni shida gani, ni matatizo gani inasababisha mauaji katika kaunti ya Lamu. Madam Speaker, niko na huzuni kubwa, niko na hasira kubwa kwa sababu ya shida na matatizo ambayo saa hii watu wangu wameendelea kupata. Nimeshukuru Madam Speaker, nasema ya kwamba watu wa kaunti ya Lamu ni Wakenya kama wengine, walindwe kikatiba kwa sababu ni haki yao kulindwa pamoja na mali yao. Asante Madam Speaker.
Senator Cherarke.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mine will be very, and I'm sure I'm happy at least this first session. We have known each other now. I think we know where our weaknesses and strengths are as colleagues. I appreciate, Madam Speaker, because they have been diverse in unity in terms of thinking, argument. I know it has not been well all the time. We have had our differences. But I'm happy that we always converge a certain point of reasoning. But as Speaker, maybe 2-3 points so that support of the adjournment by the majority leader. I want to ask TSC to quickly confirm the GSS interns who are on contracts, Madam Speaker, because on 31st their contracts are expiring so that they can be transited to, there are more than 46,000, Madam Speaker. They can be transferred to permanent and pensionable and be able to have certain, because most of these are young people. Madam Speaker, even as we are to Form 1 selection, I want to ask the ministry through NEMIS to ensure that Form 1 selection, each and every child deserves to join Form 1 as we go into the new year. I know KCP has had its issues. We hope that the parliamentary committee will give us a way forward on what really happened to KCP results. Madam Speaker, even as we are to education reforms, we want to ask the presidential working team to liaise with parents and other stakeholders so that we can ensure we fix the education reforms going into the future. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the government on the issue of subsidized fertilizer. I hope by December, January, we shall be able to get 2,500 fertilizer so that we continue in ensuring that we plant our maize, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the other aspect I want to ask the government, I know the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, is in charge of agricultural reforms, especially on tea, sugar, coffee, and even the maize prices that we are getting 4,090 kilos per bag, Madam Speaker. I hope these reforms can be fast-tracked so that we live on our mantra of guarantee minimum returns going into the future. Even the sugar sector that my brother has talked about, we hope to see, because now Nandi is becoming a serious nucleus in terms of sugarcane production, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, which is close to my heart is on the issue of MCAs. I want to assure members of county assembly across the country that with the blessings of the president, we are likely to see more reforms, especially on financial autonomy, the welfare of MCAs and Ward Development Fund going into the future. We look to working and ensuring that all the MCAs get the necessary ability and capacity going into the future. Finally, to the great people of this republic and Nandi, I want to wish them all the best. Madam Speaker, I want to tell the people of Nandi, I shall not tire, I shall not retreat, I shall not surrender in pushing for ensuring that they get development, Madam Speaker. It is in the interest of the House that I have been sued, and I am ready to be taken to court for the benefit of the great people of Nandi, Madam Speaker. And I can assure them I will not be intimidated, either through courts of law or even through hooligans, through goons, and any other form, Madam Speaker. I shall live with the true spirit of Chalagat Mutahi, Jean Maria Serone, and Koitalel Samoe to ensure the great people of Nandi continues to benefit from development, Madam Speaker, across the 6 sub-counties, and that will be a luta continua. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Hope to see everybody back.
Senator Hezana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I join my colleagues to pay special gratitude to God Almighty and my party, the ODM party, for an opportunity to be part of this honorable house, which has, for a good percentage, stood up to its name. I have gotten a grand opportunity to learn from some of the finest brains, like Senator Cherarke, you know, and I have also learned that what we used to see while we were out of this house is not exactly what happens. It's 50%. So I have also come to learn that there are a lot of people who preach water and drink wine and vice versa, which has been a thorough learning curve for me. I continue to learn in the coming year. I have been inspired a lot by the energy in this house for example, by Senator Mundigi and Cherargei, especially, who is always there. I completely underestimated his contributions and the power of influence he has for the youth in this country. Madam Speaker, I also like to wish Kenyans a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year as we celebrate the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ. And I hope that just like me and Senator Medhu, the young senators, we do not lose hope in the quest for a patriotic country, a country that where we aim to fight for the rights of our people, regardless of whether we are shy, whether we are confident, or what. Most importantly is to put God first and our country first. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Cheptum.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I arise to support this motion for adjournment. And as I do so, Madam Speaker, let me thank the great people of Baringo County for giving me a chance to serve them in this House. Mr. Speaker, I served there as a member of Parliament for 15 years. And to serve in Senate, Mr. Speaker, is really an experience, and I want to really thank people of Baringo for giving me a chance. Madam Speaker, this session we witnessed a lot of progress, and I want to thank our majority leader for helping leading the House, and even the leadership from the minority leader, Madam Speaker. I think we saw some very successful management of our affairs in the House. Madam Speaker, we also realize that we can disagree on matters, politics and so on, but ultimately, when all is said and done, we remain an assembly of elected national leaders in this country, Mr. Speaker, and even when we disagree, finally we come together and decide matters that are beneficial to our country. I think it is a good fortune, Madam Speaker, that I want to encourage ourselves, even as we go for holidays and we come back, let us put our country first, we get united and move together in one unison. Madam Speaker, during this session, I had a chance to serve as the Chair Security. And Madam Speaker, I was able to come across a number of issues in the country. We went to Turkana during the Senate Machinani, and were able to interact with the people of Turkana on matter security and many other counties, Madam Speaker, during this session. Madam Speaker, there's a big challenge on security in our country, and I want to call upon our government. I want to thank the head of state. He's been able to show a lot of political will to deal with the menace of cat rustling. Madam Speaker, unfortunately, my motion, which has been in the order paper for close to 3 months. Unfortunately today, Madam Speaker, I'm unable to prosecute that motion, declaring cat rustling a national disaster and establishment of a special fund to compensate. I will do that, Madam Speaker, when we come back. Madam Speaker, let me conclude by saying that I want to wish all members Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. And Madam Speaker, let us continue to preach peace. We preach unity for our country, even as we interact with our people during the holidays. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support the motion.
Senator Nyamo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I am very grateful for the opportunity to serve in this House as a senator and to represent the youth of Kenya, to represent the people of Nairobi in my capacity as a nominated senator of the UDA party. I have got a wealth of experience in the past 1 year. I have been able to bring statements to this House, the latest one being one to the Committee of National Security, where I happen to be vice chair, regarding the upsurge of a notorious habit called aluta activities that involve over-partying by the young people of Nairobi. And Madam Speaker, the work that we do in this House, I am a Christian and I believe it is the work of God. The people we represent, the people who rely on us to pass these laws and and to intervene for them are people who have, we are their representatives, Madam Speaker. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the people of Nairobi for giving me great support, for making me their envoy here, and for always liaising with me and giving me their views so that I can represent them in this house. I want to wish them a Merry Christmas. I know times are hard. We don't have money. The economy is tough. But I want to tell them to hang in there, because the things that the plans the government is making are going to bear fruits in the long run, and we are going to be happy as Kenyans. And I believe when it is time for re-election for our president, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, it will be an exciting time for Kenyans to look forward to give him another term because of the fruits that will have borne by the steps that he's making. I also wish to implore on Senator Omtata and other people who are going to fight the government plans in court to sit and consider the intention of the government, the end of what the government is planning to achieve for its people. And let's not politicize everything. Simply because you do not support the government, you put bottlenecks in the government plans. At the end of the day, ultimately, it is your people who benefit from these steps that the government is taking. And thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Abbas, you have slightly less than 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to join my colleagues to support the postponement bill. And I want to thank the people of Wajir County for giving me this opportunity to represent them in this house. I think this is actually a prestige and a privilege for me to be here. And I will say thank you all. However, Honorable Speaker, as I aware for the last 2.5 months, the people of Northern Kenya have been having a lot of problems, especially because of the problems. There are a lot of floods, houses have been destroyed, crops that are ready for harvest was destroyed, roads are not possible, that people are not even able to access food. Up to now, the interventions from the government was so minimal. It's very unfortunate that the people of Northern Kenya have been forsaken by the current regime. It's a very unfortunate situation. However, one thing I want to tell them is that however few we are, we may not have the big number to vote for them, but we are having the vote for the 50 plus 1. The plus 1 is ours, and we will always be needed to vote for the government of the day. And it is a high time people must change their thinking of the number of issues in terms of voting and all these things. One other thing, Madam Speaker, is that one thing is that this House actually represents the evolution, the county issues. That, and the Kenyans are looking forward to see that, that this House becomes the savior. You know what is happening in the counties. I want to tell my colleagues, the senators, when they go home, when they go to the counties, they know there's a lot of misappropriation of funds, a lot of problems taking place. And I think it's a high time, as the chairman for division, I want to request all my colleagues that it's a high time that we must come to the support of the people of in the counties, so that at least the resources, the minimum resources, I think we don't have much resources. The little resources that is available should be optimized and made use of it. With those few remarks, I want to wish everybody.
Honorable Senators, it is now 1:15 p.m. Time to adjourn the Senate, pursuant to Standing Order number 34-2A. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until Tuesday, 13th February 2024 at 2:30 p.m.
Nikamche. Well, you are right on time for this live proceeding of the National Assembly morning sitting. A very good morning from wherever you are watching this live proceeding from. It is a live proceeding that, or rather a live broadcast that is brought to you by the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in partnership with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. In today's order of business, the 7th of December, the year 2023, is that the members will be considering a procedural motion on the reduction of a publication period of specified bills. There are two bills here lined up. It's a procedural motion that will be moved by the leader of the majority party, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. And these bills include the Affordable Housing Bill originating from the National Assembly, Bill number 75 of 2023. The Honorable Leader of the Majority Party will be seeking to have the House reduce the publication period of this particular bill from 14 days to 3 days. The members will also be considering that particular procedural motion on the Land Laws Amendment number 2 bill originating from the National Assembly to have its publication period reduced from 14 days to 1 day. And this particular procedural motion on the reduction of that publication period of a number of bills is pursuant to the House Standing Order number 20 Part C, which indicates that a few bills, including the Division of Revenue Bill, County Allocation of Revenue Bill, an Appropriation Bill, or a Supplementary Appropriation Bill, a Finance Bill, County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, and Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, have their publication period within 7 days, but in any other bill, it is stipulated to be published within a period of 14 days. And in this case, Standing Order 120 also gives opportunity for the leader of the majority party or the House to have a particular bill within the 14 days period of publication to be reduced to a number of days regarding the urgency of that particular bill or the matter within that bill. So the reduction of the publication period for these two bills, the Affordable Housing Bill from 14 days to 3 days, and the Land Laws Amendment Bill from 14 days to 1 day, of course, is with regards to the provisions of the House Standing Order number 20 that allows the House to reduce the publication period of various bills with regards to the urgency of the matter that particular bill seeks to address. These two bills are also lined up for consideration for first reading at the National Assembly chambers this morning. The Affordable Housing Bill seeks to provide a legal framework for the establishment of affordable housing fund, access to affordable housing, and in particular give effect to Article 43(1)(b) of the Constitution, which talks on the right to accessible and adequate housing. This bill further imposes the affordable housing levy to finance the provision of affordable housing and associated social and physical infrastructure. The bill has various clauses, and it also seeks to specify the obligations of an employer in respect of the levy and empowers the Cabinet Secretary to the National Treasury issue exemptions from payment of the levy to any income or class of income or any person or categories of persons that he may determine. This bill also provides for the establishment of the fund sources of funds and the payment out of the fund, which indicates here that the payments shall include 30% to the National Housing Corporation, 30% to slum upgrading, maintenance, rehabilitation, and offtake of affordable housing programs. And also the payments shall include 36% to the State Department responsible for matters relating to affordable housing in respect of institutional housing programs and projects approved by Cabinet. This is a bill that is lined up for first reading and whose publication period will also be reduced from 14 days to 3 days. This is pursuant to a procedural motion that the leader of the majority party will be moving this morning. The Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Gladys Boss, is in the chambers. Allow me to hand you over to this live broadcast brought to you by PBU in partnership with KBC. Good morning.
Honorable members, let us pray. Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the officers of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of important trusts in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. My card. I direct that the bell be rung for 10 minutes. They always sit down and forget that they have.
Well, as directed by the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable